Yo, what's up? Welcome to PS I Love You XOXO episode 66. I'm one of your hosts, Blessing Adeoye Jr. Joining me is Gameonicist, aka Janet Garcia.
What's good? Happy to be here.
Happy to have you here, Janet. How's it going?
It's going good. It's going good. I'm ready to talk PlayStation. I got my PlayStation shirt on. There is a Mario pin on my jacket, but we're not here to talk about that today. Just ignore that. It's all.
No, we're just talking about the PlayStation.
Yes,
all about
all
PlayStation.
The time.
Janet, I got a question for you.
Go for it.
Would you rather live in the universe of Horizon Zero Dawn post-apocalypse or Marvel Spider-Man's New York?
Do I have to survive? Is this like a survival or intrigue?
Both. It's whatever you want. Like,
for survival, Spider-Man's New York. I'm not gonna live. I'm not gonna survive in like the era of Horizon. There's too much. Like, I don't have the upper body strength to do both stuff. Like, no.
You don't think you can adjust to it though? You know, because like my thing is like you can be. They have communities. They have like gated communities away from the machine robots. They go crazy every now and then.
Where do you think I would live though, Blessing? You think I'd be in the gated community of Horizon?
I mean, yeah,
I'm
like
not in the gated community here. Like,
it's not like a 1% kind of thing. I think they let anybody who wants to live in the gated community for the most part in there.
That'd be the first welcoming gated community. I don't know. I
didn't say anything about welcoming, by the way.
Because
like what then to be clear, right? When I say anyone, I mean anyone except for Aloy's people, because they did kick out Aloy and then had her as a reject and all this shit.
Like, if Aloy's getting kicked out, what chance do I have? You know what I mean? But yeah, I think for survival, Spider-Man's New York for sure. I also have always been interested in checking out New York. I've never visited. I can go to the Nintendo World Store.
Spider-Man's New York?
Yes.
Every other week, there is a rhino or a venom or like some kind of creature that's fucking up the city. Yeah, and you're like, oh yeah, I'd love to check out New York.
Well, I feel like
go to the Nintendo World Store.
That stuff always goes down. It does happen anywhere, but like, I don't know. Death is all around us. At least I can go to the Nintendo World Store, go to like get some pizza. Here, like the New York style pizza is a thing. Hang around. Can you imagine just like chilling and then Spider-Man swings by? Like that's some.
But yeah, then Doc Ock breaks into the building you're in. Do you remember Spider-Man 2 when they were just having Mary Jane and spoilers for Spider-Man 2, the old one, Tobey Maguire, where Peter Parker and Mary Jane just chilling, eating coffee. All of a sudden, a big old Doc Ock breaks through the window.
Yeah,
I was thinking
remember when the car gets like thrown through the building? Like, imagine if you were just like at that.
Imagine that happens every other weekend.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
And you hear about it. You read the news, and it's like, oh man, this time an old man dressed up as a vulture broke into 5 different buildings to steal the foundation so he could build his own fucking death machine. I don't know, man. I don't want to live in that New York.
I still have the modern. Gotham. I have the modern. It's not nearly as bad as Gotham. Gotham is like, yo, I don't care what Gotham has going for it. Why are y'all still here? Because Gotham too, there's so much lore like in Batman. I mean, Spider-Man as well. But like when you think of like spoilers for Batman Begins, right? Like, but like when they like gas everybody. I can't, see in Spider-Man, it's like, okay, if I'm not at that cafe that one time, it's all good.
Do you remember you played Marvel Spider-Man, correct?
Of course.
Do you remember when there was the prison break? Spoilers for Marvel Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but here's the
the whole city was being fucked up.
Okay, here's the thing.
The whole city was getting it.
It was like by the water. You know, I'm not living by the water. I'm like deep in the weeds there. I'm like, I'm somewhere else. It's fine. That's like the edge water communities. I'm not going to be there.
But here's the thing is like there is still like a fighting chance for the citizens of New York. Whereas in Arkham Knight, slight spoilers for Arkham Knight, like that gas bomb goes off eventually, and like it's fucking terrifying. Like imagine even at the very beginning where like the original plan was to have that bomb like take out the entire East Coast, Fuck that, man.
Here's a modifier to the question. Would you rather live in Spider-Man's New York, but you have Spider-Man powers, and you're the only one who has Spider-Man powers, so it's your responsibility to protect the city, or you're in the Horizon Zero Dawn universe, but you have the focus?
Definitely Spider-Man. Like the whole because like when playing the game,
No, man.
whole appeal, how are you going to ask me the question? Then you're like, no. I mean, that is what the whole podcast is going to be.
Yeah, no, that is what this podcast is.
It's literally me being like, what do you think? That's dumb. We're moving on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like the whole thing was the joy of swinging through the city. And like to get to have that freedom, you know, and like I recently took up skating, and like that has like a gliding element. Now, granted, y'all have seen me skate if you follow me on Twitter. I'm not moving very quick.
It's a fantastic journey to watch. It'll take me a
while. It's not going to be the most graceful swings, but I'm gonna slowly get there. It's going to be Christmas time. We're hanging out. We're swinging by. We're traversing the area. I don't have to pay for transit anymore. I can't drive, so this seems like a convenience thing.
Are you crime fighting
absolutely. Though? You said I had to, so then yes.
I mean, you don't have to do anything. I'm just saying if you don't do it, nobody else is going to do it.
I think I will because like the freelance of it all speaks to me at this point in my life. So yeah, I'd be down to do that. You know, someone's helping me with the social media. Like, yeah, let's do it.
Hell yeah. Before we get into the show proper, Janet, catch us up. I feel like since the last time we've hosted together on a show, which would have been in KFGD, you've been up to more stuff. What have you been up to? What's going on in your life?
Yeah, a bunch of stuff. I recently became a Min-Max cohort. So over at the Min-Max show, I'm on that podcast pretty much every week, you know, with a few exceptions here and there. I might pop into some of their live streams as well. So that's been, I think, the biggest change. Other than that, I'm honestly just doing more of the same stuff. I'm still streaming like 3 or 4 times a week on Twitch. I'm still doing like reviews, slowly making my website look nicer because it doesn't look that great right now. But yeah, just trying to cover literally everything. Did y'all know a lot of games come out? It's really hard to keep up with all these games.
Let me tell you, we finally hit the point, I think, where games are here. We just got Outriders. Yes. We're about to get Returnal. We're about to get Nier. We're about to get Mass Effect. Things are happening. Deathloop got delayed, which I'm sad about.
But then also MLB The Show, very important.
Oh my God.
For both of you.
Yes.
Very important.
Which was reviewed so far, quote unquote, on Kind of Funny XCast, which is our Xbox podcast, which is a bizarre world to live in, which you can catch right now on youtube.com/Kind of Funny Games and on podcast services around the globe. Just like PS I Love You XOXO, your PlayStation podcast. Remember, each and every Tuesday, we join you to talk about the biggest topics in PlayStation. If you like that, you can catch it live right here on twitch.tv, or not Twitch. You can catch it right here on patreon.com/Kind of Funny Games. I'm so used to hosting games daily. Or you can watch it on Tuesday when it posts for everyone on youtube.com/Kind of Funny Games and on podcast services around the globe. If you're wondering where Greg Miller is, he had to take the week off. He is moving, and so by the time he gets back here, you're going to see him in a whole new scenery. So get hyped about that. Housekeeping for you. The finale of The Blessing Show is up right now on youtube.com/Kind of Funny Games. It's an episode that's about dreams that was shot within dreams. If that sounds cool to you, it should. As a PlayStation fan, you can go over to youtube.com/Kind of Funny Games again, check that one out. And I would appreciate the click because right now, Janet, the Blessing Show has been, no pun intended at all, it's been a blessing to work on. Right, it's like a dream come true for me to work on, to be able to.
I don't believe that no pun was intended there.
I really
no one believes that.
I can't use the word blessing without it being a pun, especially when I'm talking about the Blessing Show. But it's one of those ones where me and Roger put in so much work into it, and it's a show that doesn't need to exist from the idea of what makes Kind of Funny like an up and running business. It is one that got greenlit because people were supportive on patreon.com/Kind of Funny Games, which allowed me to be like, cool, I get to make this thing that I really want to make because I loved making video essays in the past, and I love watching video features, and I want to make a specific kind of product. And people have shown up to it, supported it, and I thank you all so much for giving it the views. What I need for you all to do is to go watch the Dreams episode and have the views surpass Greg Miller's episode of The Blessing Show. Because a few weeks ago, Greg Miller put out an episode that was all about Avengers and how to save Avengers, right? That was his episode. And that was one that was also greenlit because of your support on Patreon. That is sitting at around, maybe past this point, 30,000 views on YouTube.
That's not that bad.
Yeah, and listen, I think y'all can do it. Because 30,000 views isn't crazy. I think we can get this latest episode of The Blessing Show there. Because we've already passed
episode now.
I want to say we've passed 22K.
Yes. Oh, and yeah, so you can do that.
8,000 of you need to go and watch it.
It's time for me to start watching on my alt YouTube accounts where I just have like, you have like 8 Gmails that you have different accounts for. I'm just going to start that's like 4 views right there. There we go.
If you've watched it already, maybe watch it again, because it was an episode that we put a lot of work into. Again, the episode is made within dreams and it was about dreams, and so it has a pretty fun gimmick there. And again,
that was super cool to see. I loved how in the comments so many people were like, dream blessing's not real, he can't hurt you, dream blessing. And that's especially funny because it's like has that claymation kind of like dream art style to it, even though in the episode you mentioned how like there is kind of a dreams look, but there's a lot of games in dreams that don't look like they're necessarily dreams, which makes them so cool. Great episode, by the way. I checked that out. A couple people in my community were like, have you seen the episode yet? Like, I'm like, all right, I'll go check it out. And I watched it on Sunday, and it's funny because I was watching it like in the background while I was like working on stuff. So, and I have a multi-monitor setup. So I had you on like one of the far off monitors, and like the screen was really big. And, like my boyfriend walked by and was like, oh my God.
Like, what the fuck is that?
Blessing. I'm like, there's like a whole other thing going on over here. Like, don't even worry about it.
Yeah, my favorite where I got 2 responses on Twitter that made me laugh that are on different sides of the spectrum, where my friend Ben Bellevue responded when I tweeted out about the video, and he was like, ironically, dreams blessing is going to exist in my nightmares, which I thought was really funny. But then there was another response from somebody who I don't know, but I think they were a kind of funny best friend who responded, and they were like, I forget exactly what they said, but they were essentially thirsting after dreams blessing. And I was like, what why are people like this? You know what I mean?
In that area of when there's like, especially when it's not like hyper realistic looking, when like an actor is in a game, it's like you find that character hot because they're the person. So it's like, it's not really like, it's a weird like twice removed situation. Did you watch the Until Dawn people? It's like, those are real people, so it's not you being into a cartoon. It's weird.
Did you watch Amanda's show growing up?
Yeah, I think so. Dancing Lobsters and stuff. Yeah,
yeah. Bit. There's a bit in the Amanda show that was claymation versions of Amanda and like other characters that would do whatever. It was always weird shit. Because it was Amanda's show. I recently went back and watched the Amanda show because I've recently like been binging a bunch of old school Nickelodeon stuff. And it is that same thing where it is so eerie. One, because the claymation just looks disgusting, but then also it trying to be Amanda while not being Amanda was such a weird thing that like as I was watching it, I was like, I don't want to watch this. This is making me feel a certain way.
Someone should make that episode in dreams. I'm sure someone has.
Oh man, dude. There's so much going on in dreams, and I guess we won't talk about it later because there's nothing in the show pertaining to dreams, but it's stuff we talked about before where dreams is such an incredible thing where the more and more I log into it and the more and more I check out what people are doing over the course of months and years, it's always mind-blowing to see the things that people create. There's a Sonic the Hedgehog fan game that as at the very least is better than Sonic 06, which is like not difficult, but out of a dreams creation that is trying to be a Sonic game, actually also pretty impressive. And so there you go. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Mick at the Nanobiologist, Tom Bach, Elliot, James Hastings, Saint West Gaming, Julian the Gluten-Free Gamer, Trent Berry, and Tyler Ross. Today we're brought to you by ExpressVPN and Canva, but I'll tell you about that later. For now, let's begin with topic of the show. Janet, my question for you for today's topic of the show is 5 months later, what features does the PS5 still need? I asked this question because last week we got the PlayStation 5's first major system update. I'm going to quickly detail it. It was put up on the PlayStation blog. It reads like this. The first major system software update for the PS5 console is rolling out globally tomorrow. And remember, this is last week, so the update is out right now. And it's packed with new features and improvements. And then they have a list of bullet points that also have some details in them. And so I'll go through all of them, starting with you can store PS5 games on compatible external USB drives. With this feature, you can now transfer your PS5 games to USB extended storage from your console's internal storage. Because PS5 games are designed to take advantage of the console's ultra-high SSD, PS5 titles can't be played from USB extended storage. PS5 titles also cannot be directly downloaded to USB extended storage. However, games that you transfer or copy back to internal storage will automatically update when applicable. In addition, you can select which game modes you want to install, such as campaign or multiplayer, for select titles that support the option. They also talk about cross-generation share play. PS4 and PS5 players can now share play together while chatting in parties. This means PS5 consoles users can let their PS4 consoles view their game screen, or even try out the PS5 games through SharePlay, and vice versa. They also talk about request to join game session. A selection of your friends' joinable game sessions will now appear on both PS5 and PS4 consoles, allowing for more gameplay opportunities together. The quote request to join option also serves as a shortcut to sending a game invite, reducing the time it takes for you to get into games with friends. There's also improved game base. The game base menu has been improved for quicker access to important content and features. You can now easily switch between parties and friends to start chatting with your existing parties or see what each of your online friends is up to. In addition, you can turn notifications on or off for each of the parties you're in. You can also disable game chat or adjust players' volume. You can now quickly disable in-game chat, which turns off your mic audio and the voice audio for other players. They also talk about game update pre-download. Title updates for games will pre-download to your console if the automatic updates setting is enabled and your console is on or in rest mode. This will let you start playing the latest version of a game immediately after the update's released. You can also customize your game library. With the ability to hide games from view, it's now easier to find content and personalize your view of your game library. They also added screen zoom. They've added new trophy settings and a stat screen, which I'm sure Greg Miller is very happy about. And then, which wasn't detailed in the PlayStation blog, they've also added support for PC monitors with 120 hertz in the new update, along with support for non-HDR TVs to automatically switch video output when the game or app you're using doesn't support it. A lot of stuff in that update, but it's the PS5's first major update. Janet, what are your thoughts on this PS5 update? Does it have all the features that you need?
No. It's a lot, but it's also not very much, which is like a weird, it's hard to hit that ground, but that kind of is what we have. We have a lot of like small quality of life updates that are definitely welcomed. And I think, this is the first of presumably many updates to come in the PS5's life cycle. The PS5 is still very new. Many still can't get their hands even on a PS5. So it's definitely not the biggest deal that this isn't a mind-blowing update. But I think the number one disappointment is having, especially when they like teased it like the day before, they're like, oh, there's going to be some stuff with like storage. And I think we were all hoping for the storage solution rather than this external USB thing where it's like, oh, well, you can put your games on there, but it's not like you can play them from there or download them to there. So it's better than what we had, but it's still not the, I think it's the M2 storage, like the internal one. So like, since it's not that, it's kind of like, well, you're just sort of like, we're waiting on the thing you really want. And then here's a couple light things. Currently stuff like cross-gen share play. I feel like this is like stuff trying to make share play happen. Have you used share play?
So I don't use share play at all, but there was a situation a couple months ago where I did want to use cross-platform share play, and the feature wasn't there. And I didn't realize that the feature wasn't there just because I'm never going to use share. I never usually use share play.
What was the situation?
A friend and I wanted to play everybody like. It was like Hot Shots Tennis, some tennis game that didn't have online multiplayer because we were just craving a tennis game. And we found one that I think it was a PS4 game. Yeah, I believe it was a PS4 game that had tennis, but only local multiplayer. And so we were like, oh, no problem. We'll just do share play because I had a PS5, they had a PS4. And we learned that is not an option, but it is now an option, which
Are you going to go and play the tennis game now?
No, I did contact them. I was like, hey, it's an option if we want to play this tennis game, but it's been months and we don't have that tennis crave anymore. In fact, we went and we played tennis in GTA Online. That was our solution. And GTA Online doesn't have the best tennis game, but it is serviceable if you do want to play tennis and you don't.
Eventually, that remake will come, so you got.
We also had the GTA 5 remake back before we were using vMix for our gameplay streams. And I think we used SharePlay for when Nick was playing through The Last of Us.
Yes.
And it was like, that was a whole situation. Then we learned like, you can only SharePlay for like a certain amount of time.
Like an hour?
Yeah, something like that. So like in the middle of streams, like Nick would have to like leave SharePlay and then like enter back into it. It was a whole thing. You
also have to have good internet for it. That was the thing that fucked me up a lot.
Yeah, you want to be hardwired in. You really you both need to be, or else someone will be experiencing lag.
Yeah, when I was playing Bloodborne early last year when I first started up, I tried to share play with a friend who was going to walk me through the beginning areas, and we just couldn't connect. Like we tried over and over again, and I think a big part of that was just that I wasn't hardwired, and the internet I had wasn't great, and so it just didn't let us do it. Period.
Yeah. What about you? What do you think of this?
I think this is a good update for what they're providing. I think that to what you mentioned earlier, I think it is a good foundation for what the PS5 has kind of needed at the start. And there's, of course, plenty of stuff still that can be added, and that's what the whole topic of the show is gonna be. But for what's in there, storing PS5 games on external USB drives is a huge one, and is one that I was shocked wasn't there at launch. I think both me and Greg were shocked. We're surprised that it wasn't there because one, Xbox has it on their side, and two, there isn't an SSD drive, or there isn't a way to expand your SSD drive, I should say, for the PS5. And so to be limited to the however many gigs of SSD storage you have with your launch PS5 kind of sucks, because that means that if you're like me and you download a bunch of games, and you are constantly deleting shit off of your PS5. And for so many people, that means that you are relying on your internet in order to get those games downloaded, probably very slowly or very quickly, depending on your internet. And you are probably held back a lot by internet bandwidth, which is a large thing for people, especially if you live in the States and you have a provider like Comcast. Most people have bandwidths that they can't exceed, usually 1,000 gigs or somewhere along those lines. And for big old PlayStation 5 games, that is an easy thing to hit if you are constantly downloading and deleting games because you want to be able to play the new releases. Say you want to get Outriders and Returnal and Near Replicant, while also be like, oh yeah, I also want to play Call of Duty with friends.
All of those are probably like 50, 60 gigs.
Yeah,
massive.
And when you add in 100 gig Call of Duty game into it, it starts to become a problem for real. And so this provides an option for you not to fuck up your internet bandwidth.
What is the last game you deleted because of storage? And then what's the game that you refuse to delete because you think you're going to play it, but you know you're not?
I have my PS5 on right now. And so yesterday, I actually went through the thing where I put in most of the PS5 games that I had installed. I transferred them to my external storage just to hold. And so the last game I deleted, I couldn't even tell you.
For me, I think it was Valhalla. I think Valhalla was like, where it was like, am I really going to play this? And the answer is probably no. But then it gets weird too, because sometimes I like share my console with other people in my household. So I'm like, are they going to play? Now I have to like project my own stuff onto other people. I'm like, I don't see them coming back to this. I think I'm still holding on to like for stuff that I feel like I want to play, probably like Persona 5 Royale and stuff like that, where I'm like, I'm going to get to this. Yeah. I want this ready when I go to it, but it's like, when is this going to happen? And I'm like, it might not be for months, but I want that to be at the ready. So yeah, definitely streamlined storage stuff. It's funny because I was talking about this in my household and was told like, well, why don't you just delete the games you're not going to play? I'm like, because I don't want to delete them.
Yeah, that's the thing is like
console, I want to load it up with stuff.
Yeah, like I always have that idea in the back of my head that FIFA, for example, FIFA 21 is one of those games that we play together every now and then, right? We play it maybe like once every few weeks. And that is enough to where I'm like, I don't want to delete FIFA because I know I'm going to come back to it in a few weeks. But if another big game comes out with that it's going to take a lot of storage and I need to delete a game, FIFA might have to bite the bullet. And so to your question of what was the last game I deleted, I couldn't tell you which one I deleted, but for the games that I did move into my extended storage, which I can't play off of, but I'm holding there, right? I moved Sackboy: A Big Adventure over there because I do want to return to that because I have friends that I want to play co-op in that game with. FIFA 21, I did move to that extended storage.
Wow.
Demon Souls, I moved there because that's another one where I'm like, eventually I am going to get to Demon Souls, but for the time being, I have other games that I'm playing. Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War is another one where every now and then I'll get a text from Rihanna, not the singer Rihanna, the homie Rihanna from What's Good Games and G4. And Rihanna and Danny will be like, hey, do you want to play some zombies? And it happens frequent enough to where I'm like, I gotta keep this game, but not frequent enough to where I'm like, it's gonna hold 123.5 gigabytes in my SSD hard drive.
Storage solution is basically the bench of the PlayStation 5. Like who's sitting on the bench ready to go? The second string. It's your second string games.
But then, I also have Hitman 3 there, Dead by Daylight, and then Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2. And like to that point,
accurate.
Right? The games that I have, the PS5 games that I have that are still installed, is taking a minute. I thought SSDs were faster than this. Here we go. The PS5 games that I still have installed are Outriders, Fortnite, and Disco Elysium, and that's it. And then I also have a bunch of PS4 games, obviously. But as far as PS5 games, those are what I still have on my console, and so I'm very thankful for that feature.
Yeah, for sure.
But then also, we talked about cross-generation share play. The improved game base, I do like, because I think the game base is one of those things that needs a lot of tweaking. I'm still, and I don't know if it's that thing where I think it's half and half. I think half of it is that I'm so used to the PS4 and how that UI deals with adding friends and the parties and all that stuff. But the game base still feels like it is in its infancy and is trying to figure out how to create a good social experience for the PS5. And so the big thing with it now is that it separates parties from friends, which I don't know why they didn't do that at the start of it, because that was a glaring issue where you would have to scroll and figure out how to find your friends. But thankfully they've added that. And then customizing your game library. I haven't used that yet, but it is also a welcome feature because I'm sure I'm going to get it.
Customize your 3 games.
Yeah, customize my 3 games so I can hide Outriders when I don't need people to see that I'm playing it.
Well, you got to focus on Disco Elysium.
Or when I'm focusing on Disco Elysium.
Yeah, there you go.
So, Janet, the topic of the show for this episode of PS I Love You XOXO is 10 features the PS5 still needs. I hit you up over the weekend. I asked you to bring 3 features that you think the PS5 still needs. I'm going to bring 3. And then I also asked the audience to write in with what their suggestions for features that the PS5 still needs are. And I pulled 4 from the audience. So we have a total of 10. I think we have a good... I'm not like checked out yours yet, and so I don't know what yours are. But between mine and the honest's, so far we have a good 7 out of 10. And so I'm going to need you to bring the heat when we come to yours.
Okay? All
right. Again, I asked for 10. I'm going to start off by talking about the expandable SSD storage. Because coming off of talking about how we're able to transfer games back to the external hard drive, that's still a glaring issue. The fact that we're stuck.
Yeah, but we know we're going to get it. I felt like this was a cheap one to throw in there. Like, we know, they like literally said in the post, like, it's coming.
But I want it now.
Yeah, but I'm like, I was even going to write in here. This is like really putting you on blast, but I was even going to write in here, like, we're not going to put the expandable storage, right? Because we already know that, like, but I mean, you're not wrong. You're technically not wrong.
The name of the episode is Features the PS5 Still Needs.
That is true. That is true.
And the PS5 still needs expandable storage.
Let me know in the comments if this is a cheap feature from Blessing. Please let me know.
I mean, do you run into that issue where you feel like you need more expandable storage for your SSD?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, like I am now on like team buy your storage immediately, spend as much as you can, as long as, you know, provided you can afford it, right? And just not worry about it, because it's interesting, like in being in this situation for next gen where like PS5 and Series X, like that is the next generation, but then you also have like Switch running on the side that kind of already came out and is just kind of vibing off in the distance, and having like having had the experience of having my Switch and running out of space and really wanting to load it up with and I eventually bit the bullet and bought like a huge memory card, like 2 terabytes or something, which is massive for the Switch because Switch games were pretty small. But I love that because I don't have to worry about it. It makes it easier to like, you know, pull the trigger on getting games, be excited about there's nothing worse than downloading a game and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, you look broke to me with your storage. I hate that. So yeah, I would love to, the second they get internal like expandable actual storage, I'm gonna jump on it and see what price point. I mean, you can always wait it out to try for like price dips, but I'm gonna try to just get that problem knocked out early because I don't want to get to the point where I have like a, you know, $60 or now $70 game that I want to download, and now I feel like this $70 game is now secretly like that plus the memory I need to really be able to add it in. So yeah, definitely.
Janet, what's the first feature you're gonna ask for?
Okay, mine is also sort of cheap and tacky, but I'm gonna go for it. Themes. I know what you're thinking. The PS5 UI looks nice. Why would we want to make it ugly? Because we're gamers and this is what we do. Like, let's not pretend that this is not a hobby filled with just like flooding your space, be it digital or physical, with whatever IPs you really love. And I really enjoyed the things they've done with themes like in previous generations. And it's always fun seeing like, okay, I remember having the Life is Strange theme back on the PS4 and it being like, so cool how like the UI was like from the game, and like that's a really like simple cheesy thing, but I like that option. And I feel like the thing is too, having themes in there, you don't have to use the themes, it's not mandatory, but it's a nice addition. I even think they could do really cool legacy stuff. You know, PlayStation has, well, every company kind of does this, has mentioned like celebrating our history and things like that. What if you could have a theme that made the UI look like the PS3 UI or something goofy like that, or make the colors change in the background? Like, I think that'd be such a fun nostalgia trip. So yes, I'd love to see themes.
My favorite PS4 theme is the PS2 Legacy theme. It's so good. My one thing with themes, and I've thought about this a lot, because I miss a bunch of my themes, like the Grim Fandango one, a couple of the Persona ones.
PS5 or the Persona ones, yeah.
Yeah. The one thing is that like the UI for the PS5 now is like your home screen. When you go over and click over on games, it takes up the entire screen now. Like, is the PS5 UI like really, would it showcase themes in the way that the PS4 did in like in a really like in a good way or a way that feels like it's enough. Like it's such a weird, different UI this time around. So I wonder if that's why they decided for no themes right now, because they don't know how to like really show it off.
Yeah, I also feel like, to me, when I saw that they didn't launch with themes, I felt like, well, one, it's to create, probably clarity, less things to process, because like the PS5 makes so many like changes compared to PS4 that there's like still a lot to learn. I mean, we're still learning how to like navigate game bases and what we want out of game bases and things like that. So I felt like it was just kind of simplicity. And also, I think like my vibe from the UI is that it's very much showcasing like not just the games, but also like the news and the store and like stuff that we might not necessarily care about, but that I'm sure PlayStation wants us to care about and wants us to see and wants us to be reminded of. So my guess is if they did add themes, the like unique themes would kind of override some of those visuals that we get. Now, I don't know if PlayStation would be like on board with us like not getting that information as to the forefront as it currently is, but that would be my guess on how they'd kind of navigate that. But again, maybe they don't want us to not see that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I would hope that we'd get themes down the road at some point, because I think the reason why you don't include themes at launch would be for the reasons we've said. The fact that people are new to these consoles, and so you probably want people to get acclimated to these consoles at a ground level, and themes probably murk that up in terms of how you're able to understand what you're looking at and get acquainted to the UI. I think there's also the fact that themes take work to make, and with the PS5 having a different UI than the PS4, it's going to take time for people to actually make those themes, and so starting off with no themes makes sense from that standpoint. But my thing is, I hate when I scroll all the way to the end of my PS5 like the list of games you got on your homepage. When you get to game library, in the background you just have like a swirl that looks like some Windows Vista type shit, and it's like, what the fuck is that? Like I get that you needed something that wouldn't speak to any certain sort of, I guess, brand, because it is the PS5 UI when you go from game to game is taking up that whole screen from that game. And so when I scroll to Disco Elysium, there is Disco Elysium art in the background. When I scroll to Apex, there's Apex Legends art in the background. But then when you get to the game library, it's just this random swirl that looks, again, like a Windows, like a mid-2000s Windows background.
It's just the vibes,
It's just the
like
vibes.
the essence of games.
And I wonder if there's something you can do with that.
That would be cool.
If maybe it is that the themes overtake the actual individual game art that's in the background, or if it is more so changing up the icons, like the icon shape and sounds when you click over to them. Because that's the thing I loved about the themes that I really dug. Like when you have the Persona 5 theme, when you clicked over to different icons, they would make the PlayStation, or the I keep wanting to say Persona 5 because PS5. I keep wanting to say PlayStation 5 because PS5, P5S. You know what I mean?
Striker's
but when you
really fucking with all of us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, fucking with my brain. But when you would click over to a new icon, it would make the sound like you are playing a Persona 5
like you're in the
game.
menus of Persona 5. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I think especially too in a world that's getting more digital, like having that as like a purchase bonus or a pre-order bonus. It's not much, but it's something. Like it's enough to sort of like give me that extra nudge to want to get something from a certain place.
Janet, Sapphire Diamond Ruby, who wrote in to Patreon.com, It's Kind of Fun Games, just like you can, agrees with you and says, I want themes. I got the Final Fantasy VII Remake theme right before getting the PS5. Was honestly really sad to leave it behind. If they could allow you to even set one of the game screens as themes, that would be a nice alternative too. And that's a good point. Like I think more customability is always welcome for me, at least. Like I like being able to tweak shit, even if that shit looks ugly, because I do understand the idea that the gamers are, and users, I should say, users are the worst graphic designers. It's the reason why when Apple puts out a phone, or Nintendo puts out the Switch, they're like, this is what it is. Don't fuck with it. It's because like if I was given the option to make a wallpaper for my Nintendo Switch, it would look fucking ugly. But as a gamer, as a user, I definitely still want that.
Badly. I'm like, let me make this thing look ugly. I'm tired of like on Switch. It's been dark and light for like 3 years now since the console came out. Is there a third color? Just something, anything.
So like I said earlier, I reached out to the audience to write in with what their suggestions for PS5 features that the console still needs are. Kebabs writes in and says, folders. Once the PS5 is able to support higher capacity SSDs, especially in feature SKUs, we'll have more games on our systems than ever before, especially with PS4 titles. The library app lets us sort through them all, but nothing beats a folder you've made to help find something later. And I am right there with you, Kebabs. This is again one of those ones where I'm like, man, the fact that everything feels like it needs to reset when we go to a new PlayStation console is kind of a bummer because we got folders partway through the PlayStation 4 generation, and I feel like I just said hello to them, and now I'm saying goodbye.
I kind of like a hard reset because it makes it feel fresh. Like that's the thing that I really didn't like about the Series X launch. I'm like, this is how I feel when I get my new iPhone, which is fine because I don't care about my iPhone. It's just a functional thing. But like, I have such an attachment to consoles in a way that I don't any other device. It's kind of nice to start simple and see the ways that it can be like different or improved or tweak or what gets left behind. I also wonder if the starting fresh thing is a way to kind of like take the temperature on what like people are wanting or what people do miss or how users do interact, because there is that like, God, this stuff's so hard to do because you have to know like what people actually want versus what they say they want. As far as folders, definitely not against it. I never use folders. I'm like a chaotic person. It's just one big chunk of games. Like I don't really do a lot of further organization other than maybe sometimes like options to pin things work best for me. Like, and I do that a lot on any device, but like I don't have so many that I feel the need to sort them, or usually I have like a plan for like what I'm playing or what I'm doing. But you know, more options are always better than not.
Yeah. I think I think folders are a good solution for consolidation being the main thing. I do like that on the PS5 you have media being a different tab than games, because for me, if I were to sort through things or pin certain things, I would pin media and then I would pin probably like multiplayer shooters or something. The games that I always go back to in that sense, I'll probably pin those and then have everything else kind of live on its own. But the media tab is good for that. And like if I were to boot up my Xbox Series X right now, that's pretty much how I have it laid out, is like media, rare replays pinned, and then the everything else that I'm gonna get to. But yeah, I think folders are good for consolidation, but also like I to your point of resetting everything, feeling like a good or being a good way to kind of take stock of what people want and what you should actually keep and carry forward. I think that's also a good point where it is interesting hearing the things that people ask for the most and things that from the PS4 didn't realize were big deals that end up being big deals when we do start fresh and PlayStation tries something new with the PS5, and then you're like, oh man, it would be nice if I could, I don't know, play music in the background, or I guess folders would be the example here. So there you go. My second one is better support for legacy titles. I know we got PS Now, but PS Now isn't enough. I want more support for legacy titles. And again, like this is one that's come up over and over again when we talk about backwards compatibility and what Xbox does with Game Pass and FPS boost and all that stuff. Off of this, I'm actually going to pull in one of the PlayStation updates because this morning PlayStation put up a blog post talking about how the PlayStation Store on PS3 and PS Vita will actually continue operations. And so I'm going to read quickly from this blog post over on the PlayStation blog. And it's a post written by Jim Ryan, the PlayStation president and CEO. Recently, we notified players that the PlayStation Store for the PS3 and PS Vita devices was planned to end this summer. Upon further reflection, however, it's clear that we made the wrong decision here. So today, I'm happy to say that we will be keeping the PlayStation Store operational for the PS3 and PS Vita devices. PSP Commerce functionality will retire on July 2nd, 2021 as planned. When we initially came to the decision to end purchasing support for PS3 and PS Vita, it was born out of a number of factors, including commerce support challenges for older devices and the ability for us to focus more of our resources on newer devices where a majority of our gamers are playing on. We see now that many of you are incredibly passionate about being able to continue purchasing classic games on PS3 and PS Vita for the foreseeable future. So I'm glad we're able to find a solution to continue operations. And then he wraps up by giving the normal thank you and saying that we're looking forward to the future, all that good stuff. And I think
the Vita lives.
Yes, the Vita lives.
Do you have your Vita? Yeah,
I do. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Did Vita you bring it out here specifically because of this?
No,
is it always there? Like your phone, you got your Vita.
No, last night I had it because I was downloading or I was buying Ratchet and Clank Collection on the Vita. Because I saw someone.
Of this announcement.
No, it was.
So you didn't want to lose it.
Yeah, that was the thing. Is I saw people on Twitter talking about Ratchet and Clank on Vita, and I was like, fuck. Ratchet and Clank's on Vita. I didn't realize that, and so I picked up my Vita and downloaded it just because I knew that this store was going away soon. And as I was downloading it, I was really sad because I was like, "Fuck, I'm not gonna be able to do this at a certain point, right? Like, come August, I'm not gonna be able to actually download new games on my Vita." And there's still a library that is really good on this thing, and a library that is still growing very slowly because like not many people are releasing Vita games, but there are developers that are releasing Vita games. But to bring it back into my point of better legacy support for PS5, I think that is a good indicator that at the very least, PlayStation understands that people are there for legacy titles. It might not there might not be still that level of fervor for it that they'll end up seeing people show up in terms of like actual financials if they continue to add things like backwards compatibility or maybe did what Xbox is doing. But at the very least, there's that kernel of, okay, people are into our legacy stuff. And I think for their plan to shut down the PS3, PSP, and PS Vita stores, if you are going to do that, and I assume they're going to do that in some future, maybe years down the line from now, who knows? If they plan to do that, they have to have a backup plan. And that backup plan needs to be figuring out a way to allow those games to still exist on current platforms.
Yeah, I mean, I was really taken aback by this. I feel like are we in the year of companies being like, never mind, because with this happening like not too long after Xbox, like their supposed live price changes, and then they're like, never mind, we hear you. And I was kind of shocked by this, to be honest. I'd love to hear like what you thought of it, Bless, because like I personally didn't get like the sense that people were like really up in arms. I mean, people were like sad and stuff, and like a lot of people were like, "Oh man, it sucks because like there's so many great games and blah blah," or like everyone's sharing their lists and like over here y'all did an episode on the same stuff. But I didn't feel like people were like upset, so I was kind of shocked to see them change this. But then they also like were like, "Oh, the PSP is gonna stay in the trash, so that's fine. We can just get." And granted, PSP and Vita do share a lot of like titles there and things, like there is crossover.
For sure. Like there's so many games on the PSP that are on the PS Vita store.
Yes. But did this shock you in any way?
Them circling back and being like, actually no, the stores aren't closing did shock me. But to your point of it didn't seem like people were up in arms, I think it's a mixture of things. I think it is the fact that them closing down PlayStation Vita and PS3 stores and all that stuff didn't make people like visibly angry. Like I don't think you had like the pitchforks and torch response that you'd expect to get from angry people on the internet. Like there wasn't that, but I think there was a very visible like, hey, this is a bummer, man.
Yeah,
like
it
what
was
the
a
fuck,
lot of like,
man?
what the fuck on Twitter,
Yeah, it was like, what the fuck? Like one because
the light sadness
one
ran through the timeline.
Yeah, because it really did shine that light of PlayStation does not give a fuck about legacy, and I think that started to characterize the narrative in a way where people I think you saw sentiment around PlayStation as a company with legacy start to change and turn, and people go, man, what the fuck? They really don't care. But then also I think you had people look at the direct competition being the Xbox and see how they're doing the exact opposite and are celebrating their titles and bringing them back and adding improvements to those titles. And I think for PlayStation, this kind of painted them into a corner of, yeah, this PR beat really sucks. Like this is supposed to be a low-key announcement that we were going to just slide out there, have people get maybe mad at for a day and then move on. And I think you see people continue to talk about it and bring it up. And you see people like Andy Robinson at Video Games Chronicle who put up the article about all the games that we're going to lose once those stores go down. And he updated his article actually today talking about there's still 35 PSP games that'll still disappear. And you see so many people, I think, within the industry and within media outlets and content creators and then gamers all share that sentiment of, yeah, no, this isn't great. Like we get why you do it for the pure money standpoint, but it still sucks for the audience and for the industry as a whole. I think once that sentiment continued and started to get brought up more and more, that didn't necessarily force them to change, but made them go, it is worth changing because it's not a fight worth having. Like this is the right thing to do.
Putting your conspiracy theory cap on for a second, does this make you skeptical of future announcements of this like level? Like the next time when you hear like let's say we're on PS6, right? Like we're past into the future. for some reason it's in a weird building shape. I don't know, whatever. The PS6 has whatever features it has.
It's taller
like,
than the PS5 somehow.
Yeah, it's like taller. It's somehow heavier. Like, I don't know. It's like shaped in an L for some reason. But it's basically like a Tetris piece. But like they announced like, okay, the Vita stores and like the PS3 or the PS4 stores, whatever, are closing. Are you gonna say, oh well, last time? Well, hopefully you have a memory that good to reference this moment. But are you gonna say like, oh well, last time they did this and they went back on it? You know, like, because a lot of people did have that reaction with like, even when Xbox did this same thing, but with their live pricing, where it's like, I think what's also interesting about this kind of run it back and like change it up, you already showed me what you actually wanted to do, and now you're just doing what you feel like I want, which is nice. You know, it's nice to have like consumers' needs fulfilled, but I now know that you showed me who you wanted to be. It kind of reminds me of like, you know, with the whole thing of like when the whole digital push and be always online thing. It's like, even though that was dialed back eventually, now I know that's what you really want. And we've seen that, you know, even more from like the Microsoft standpoint, things like that. So I don't know, like, does it make you, are you gonna get this next big announcement, whether it's like price changes or store closures, and say, yeah, but you know, we'll see if they stick with it, or will you still kind of take it at face value?
If we're talking about the exact announcement of when the PS6 comes through and them going, okay, cool, we're going to close down the PS4 stores, I feel like I am setting myself up for disappointment a decade from now. I would think that I would think that wouldn't happen, because the PS4, I would hope that the PS4 and the PS5 stores and eventually the PS6 store are all integrated as one store, so that you aren't having to shut down a whole platform. And maybe it is
virtual console.
Yeah,
like that's basically, you know, what they call the Wii. That's what they call the Wii U eShop. Like the Wii U eShop is referred to as like the virtual console of like those older consoles where you can still buy those games digitally. Yeah,
but I guess my thing would be that it's not even a virtual like legacy store or legacy console. My thing is it would work the same way that a PC works, where the Steam store has all these games from quote unquote different generations, even though it's hard to really like specify generations of PC, but has all these games, right? I can buy Portal on Steam right now and it not be a problem because it's all one platform. I would think that by the time you get to the PS4, Sony has started to understand what like the value of being able to carry your games forward, and the value of creating a platform and a store that works going forward, that people don't have to keep rebuying shit. Because the PS3, like, I kind of get it for the PS3. That console came out over a decade ago. Digital purchases were first becoming more and more of a thing for console gaming. I understand how you get that wrong in a way where with the PS4 you have to recreate that and you have to figure out a new system. By the time you get to the PS4, I would hope that you have that solved, and that you would not we wouldn't have to go through that again, where we get an announcement where the PS4 stores are shutting down.
Something that would be fun with that too, like with, you know, bringing it back to your point of like getting more support for legacy titles, which also, is that a feature or is that like, I'm gonna leave it alone. But
it's a feature, damn it.
Getting more support for legacy titles. Like, hey, my suggestions are weak, but they are accurate. Getting more support, like it'd be so cool if like PlayStation Plus had like a retro angle to it, like if they gave you like kind of a legacy game, like in this world where all this stuff is available like on the storefront already, and it's like, okay, this is a title that like kind of similar to like PlayStation, God, what is it called? The PS Plus collection, but kind of for like old generations, right? We're always talking about we're the best PS1, PS2, etc. games. Like, what if from that kind of like imagined list, they'd give you once a month, you get like an old school game to play? I think that'd be like a really cool way to give a nod to the history that they claim that they want to celebrate.
Yeah. To bring in another viewpoint, Bander SN writes into patreon.com, says Come Funny Games. Again, just like you can, it says, good afternoon, Blessing and Janet. Silence the alarms, send the troops home, and put Kaz back in cryo because PlayStation has officially walked back the PS3 and Vita store closures. RIP PlayStation Portable Store. Does this walkback show that Jim Ryan and PlayStation are willing to make decisions that aren't just to save a few dollars? Was the negative feedback the reason for the walkback, or did PlayStation not realize that people actually cared about legacy content that much and decided to take the easy PR win? Lastly, any PSP games we should pick up before the store closes? Thanks for taking my question. To the question of, does this walkback show that Jim Ryan and PlayStation are willing to make decisions that aren't just to save a few dollars? I mean, I think, yeah. You know, I think there's value in good marketing and good PR. And like, I guess think about it this way, right? Like people pay for good PR, people pay for good marketing, and this move is a way for PlayStation to kind of come back and get reclaim some of those marketing beats that they lost by losing the PS3 store and announcing that shutdown. Like this, I think this is them reclaiming that space and going, wait. It's cool, everybody. Let's get it all together. We're good. You don't have to be mad anymore because we did the thing.
Who said we didn't care? We did. No, that doesn't sound like us.
And so in a roundabout way, this is kind of a money decision when you're talking about it that way. But it is them losing money at the same time for them opening up the stores. And so it kind of goes both ways.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like it is fascinating when we have like these conversations because like, and I talked about this like a bunch on Twitter the other day. Like I went on this huge like capitalism rant, but even when it's, you know, you spend money to make money kind of situation. So I think they, you know, looked at this as an investment in, yes, the history of PlayStation, but also like in kind of that good faith from the audience. And also as like, you never, as you acquire a new like customers, consumers, players, however you want to couch it, like you never want to ever burn those who have been with you from like the start. I mean, there was like that crazy stat. I forgot if it's 1 in 5 or 1 in 4. And I don't know if you remember, Bless, of people who the PS5s, they're like, they didn't own a PS4, like PS5 owners who didn't own a PS4. It was like either 1 in 5 or 1 in 4 owners or something like that, which is wild for a console that's not very available. So I think they do have a lot of new people coming in, but it's important to remember like those who came before, who are like your diehard fans. I also think like, and this is, you know, pure speculations. We're not in the rooms to like know actually what goes into these decisions. But with the news from Schreier's reporting and this kind of, a lot of people took that and kind of ran with the idea of, oh, PlayStation, you know, just cares about money. They like don't care about like they're making stuff, you know, just from just the business of it, like the hard numbers. And because this is a decision that doesn't really benefit them super directly. I mean, sure, you can buy more games, and technically that's also good. But like, obviously, they thought it would be a better business move to close the stores. It helps go against that narrative. Like, this is kind of them saying, like, no, it's not. Oh, it is about the games, even if it's not necessarily always. And you know, like, yeah, that's just kind of how that goes. So I think it is a good faith move on their part to kind of try to paint that picture of, you know, we do care about these games and the artistry of it, and it's not all just about the money, even if it kind of technically is, but you know.
Yeah. Janet, hit me with another feature that the PS5 still needs.
Yeah. Oh, also games for the PSP. I don't know of all digital ones because I just don't know, and I didn't really download many digital games. But and I feel like this is too much my brand, the Jack and Daxter thing. But Daxter was a really good PSP game. You know, there's like a bunch of really awesome PSP games, and you guys mentioned a few of them too on the episode you did on the Vita. I think you did throw in a few PSP ones too.
Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker would be my suggestion, but that's also, see, this is fun because I also don't know. I guess you would be able to get that on the PS Vita store, and so maybe that's not one that you absolutely need to get. But
I think this question could be, and you know, I don't want to spend like a lot of time on this, but like it goes one of two ways. It depends on like, well, one, are you a physical media person? Because I think if you're into physical media, you can already go out and start buying games like Daxter or games like Loco Roco 2 or whatever you want to get if you want the physical. But if you only want those digital, then you could just kind of any best of PSP or Vita list would be sufficient. But if you're just trying to go with what's literally leaving, I would go to that article you brought up, Blessing, of like, these are the games that are going to leave, and see if anything on there piques your interest. My next feature is a simple one. Make it easier to turn off the machine. I know, I think Gary Whitta was talking about this on the Xcast or somewhere about like how hard it is. But yes, it's like one too many steps to turn off the PlayStation 5. And even if it was just like something that I could edit in the settings and opt into, because like I think that's where the game base does end up sometimes, like in trying to streamline things, it kind of complicates the process. Like I think it's just opening up the game base and then like going over to like turning it off and then hitting off.
Yeah,
like I just want that.
I can detail it right now, right? Like right now I have Disco Elysium open. If you to turn off the console from your controller, you have to press the PlayStation button. It then opens up the cards menu. You have to press down, and then you have to press right all the way over to the right, so you get to power. You press X, and then you press X again.
You can go
to
left.
enter rest mode.
You can go left, Blessing.
Wait, can you?
Yeah.
What? Oh my god!
Yeah,
you learn a new thing every day.
Yeah, bro.
That's
like
actually...
left to go back around.
Yeah.
But my
you learn
thing with
enough.
the turning it off is that like if you owned a PS4, you were so used to holding the PlayStation button to open up that menu, and it's like such a like weird learning curve to like you only press it If you like hold it, it goes back to your home, but that's completely different for what the PS4 was. And like having that console for 7 years and having that be completely different now, like really fucks with me.
See, the
yeah,
thing
and
that
I think like most machines do that. Like that's usually how you hold down whatever the main kind of button is, and then it'll bring up that prompt. So yeah.
The thing that I would do would be one, give us the option to switch around where the icons are on that bottom menu, because I would like to just put that power button or that power, I guess, option at the front. And then also when I click the PlayStation button, maybe don't start from cards, maybe start from the bottom menu.
You can switch some of them, but I don't think you can switch the power one. But you can switch some of the game-based stuff out. And
that's what I thought. I was looking into that. I couldn't figure it out.
It's not a lot of customization, but
it's limited for sure. But I'm right there with you that I would like a quicker way to be able to turn off the power.
Especially, did we get any updates on like, how when the PlayStation 5 first came out, there was like that rest mode bug going on, and like don't put it in rest mode because like your thing might get like kind of bricked.
Yeah.
Is that okay? Because I'm still not putting my PlayStation 5 in rest mode, to be honest.
I didn't pay too much attention to it because I was already there. Because like I had my PS5 for review, right? And so during the review period, nobody's talking about that stuff because nobody's talking about the PS5. And so I was just using rest mode as regularly. And when that stuff started to come up, I was like, oh well, I mean, I've gotten this far. And so like I'll just roll the dice because I'm so used to using it.
You a chancy bitch, Blessing.
Yeah,
you like to fuck around.
I like it.
You gotta dance over the fire.
You gotta live a little bit. The only reason I actually,
because
I'm not. It's not that I'm paranoid about. I'm a little paranoid about the bug, but that's not the number one reason I always go to hard like turning it off. But it's because so every now and then I move my PlayStation 5 from like the living room to like my desk if I'm like streaming off of it, and like that message of like, excuse me, you unplugged this console without. I hate it. I hate it.
Well, that's the thing that pisses me off. Is
so take out that message too. Let me just destroy the machine.
Or like automatically disconnect my external hard drive when I turn off my PS5. Because like that's the thing that gets me every single time when I turn it off and I turn it back on and I get that message of you disconnected this improperly. And I'm like, why wouldn't you just automatically do it? I don't want to go into every time I turn on my PS5, I don't want to go into my settings to then safely remove my external hard drive. But that's the thing that I get every single time. But to your point of getting to leave or getting to turn off the PS5 quickly, I also want
I would like to leave that's
parties. Well, I want to leave my parties way quicker because this is an issue that pops up every single time I'm playing games with somebody. Just yesterday, I was playing Apex with the homie Yusef McGee, and we were like, hey, let's switch over to Discord because our friend Rihanna is playing on Xbox and we'll be able to talk to her on there. And so to leave a party on PlayStation 5, you have to again press the PlayStation button to bring up that menu, go over to Game Base, click Game Base, go to find the party that you're in. But then once you find the party, there are more options that are voice chat, messages, invite to game, and more. You have to go into voice chat.
Blessing.
What's up?
When you're in a voice chat, it turns into a card, and it's like one of the like if you're in a voice chat, you're on it. It's like one of the first cards that'll pop up, and you just press into there, and then you can leave.
That's another feature that I want. It's better cards.
I do think like the way it tries to teach you, like it doesn't teach you well of like how to best utilize your system and the systems available.
Yeah, the cards so currently are kind of unpredictable, and we'll get there in a second actually. But that is another complaint of mine is like I would like a way to be able to be like, hey, I always want this card first so that I know it's there, because that's the thing I don't usually think about because most of the time I'm not in parties, and so. Like you tell me that there's a card for parties that pops up when it's there. I think somebody told me that at one point, and I was like, okay, cool. And I just like it just erased from my mind because I didn't use it again. But if you actually want to go to the parties and actually leave a party, it is a journey to get there regularly without the cards.
So what's your card beef?
My card beef. I guess I'll insert it here, right?
Yeah.
I want just like overall improvements to activity cards because I rarely use them. I only use them if I'm playing a PlayStation exclusive game that I'm stuck in. Because then I'm like,
shout out to Bugsnax.
Yeah, shout out to Bugsnax, right? Like Bugsnax.
I don't want to learn how to catch this.
And
I'm just gonna use the card.
Maquette also was great for that. Where I would go into the card to figure out like what everything I'm super stuck on and I just can't figure out. But aside from that, I think the cards are a decent idea that just need way better execution and TLC put to them. I think being able to sort them and customize them would go a long way. Every time I pull up my cards, like I'm going to pull up right now, right? There's always a friend who's in a joinable game of Genshin Impact. And every time I pull up my cards, it always brings that up. Hey, do you want to join this player that you never interact with in Genshin Impact? And my answer is always no. No, I don't, because I haven't played Genshin Impact since last fall,
Like,
and I don't know this person.
Again.
I don't know this person, but
Why
for some reason
the
game.
With strangers.
I made a lot of mistakes over the last 10 years that I've had friends on PlayStation. But I mean, that's the thing. I think better options for cards.
I'm gonna start playing Genshin Impact just to piss you off.
I don't know why it's always Genshin Impact with these cards. I think it is because I booted up once, and so and people are always playing Genshin Impact, and so my cards are always just like, hey man, if you wanna link up with one of the homies, we got you. And I'm every time I'm like, I am in the middle of playing Disco Elysium right now. PlayStation, will you leave me alone with the Genshin Impact? But to the point of cards, right? Like I think more robust, refined card options would be great. It'd be great if I know PlayStation Community thing anymore, but if there was some sort of community features for the games that I was playing, like say I play Apex Legends all the time. If I am in the middle of an Apex session, if like the front card was hey, here are the friends that you're playing that are playing Apex Legends as well, that'd be great. I know that functionality is kind of there, but it's just not all the way there. Time like this.
I don't think this is a feature, because like I haven't explored the cards like super immensely either. Like I mostly use cards for occasional game help if it applies, which isn't that often, but sometimes it does. Easily getting to my captures when I take like a screenshot or a video to like post to Twitter. And then one thing I would like to, like, it brings up your trophies like from the game that you're playing on the cards as well.
Yes.
But it usually only brings up ones that like the game can tell that you're working on them. And I would really love to be able to just manually maybe pull in some of those trophies. I don't think you can do that, but like options like that, like I guess kind of to speak to your point, like coming up with more like creative ways to use them, because like I'm currently just kind of jumping ahead to a conversation we'll have later too about trophies. Like I'm working on the Overcooked All You Can Eat trophy, and like we had to just write down, like went to the trophies and we just wrote down like these are the ones we're going to work on today. And like I'm like, this has to be a better way to do this that doesn't involve going all the way back to the big trophies menu. I know they've made some edits too to make that easier to jump to, but stuff like that would be really cool.
Yeah, I'd also like, maybe game stats or something. If there's a card, if there's a card that has a breakdown of time played and then all the stats within a game, I think that could be cool. Social features, like what my friends are doing in that game, could be a cool thing in order to make the PlayStation 5 feel like more of this social experience. Like, what if I am playing Disco Elysium and I press the PlayStation button to bring up cards, and there's a card there that is like, hey, X, Y, and Z friend just hit this milestone and they're doing this thing that you just did, right? And it gave me different I guess ways of doing that, like different stats for different players. I think that could be a cool thing. Like my problem with it,
that Astrobot, right? Like with the like races, where it's like like the speed run angle. So like
yeah. And I think again, like I think the potential is there for it. But right now, for how cards work, it is a feature that I rarely use. I barely use cards, and it's such a major thing in there.
It's because they give you so much information too, and like I really do like the PS5 UI overall, and even like the game-based overlay. I think it's really convenient to just kind of like be able to easily like pull in information or go to different tabs. It does take a while to learn, but like it does have a lot going for it. But I think the cards, like there's so much information that it gets kind of overwhelming. Like I remember when the PS5 first came out, like during the review cycle, people were talking about like, could there be like almost like a do not disturb for the cards? Because sometimes you open up that game base and you just see everything, and it just kind of like is a lot of information to take in. And I think it ends up making it like less meaningful, and you're less likely to actually read it when there is just so many of them, and that as soon as you open it, there's like this big set of cards that's always going to be flooding your screen. I think that's another reason that they end up being underutilized by players as well.
Again, I asked the audience to write in with their suggestions for features the PS5 still needs. Levi wrote in and said, PS5 features. This has been talked about to death, but I deeply believe that Game Pass is the future of the industry. PS5 needs to bring PS Plus, PS Now, and the PS Plus collection all together under one umbrella, simply called PS Plus. That's a Game Pass competitor. Does PS5 need a Game Pass competitor?
Probably not need. Also, I would love if it was actually just called Game Pass competitor. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
A need, I'm going to say no. Like, only because I think that's why PlayStation doesn't have it. Like, they're, y'all talk about it all the time, like, it's a different game that's being played on the Sony side versus the Microsoft side. And what PlayStation excels in is having like these really marquee exclusive titles, and a few other things I think they're dipping into too. Like they've gone, at different points, different companies have excelled in the indie space. I think what PlayStation's doing with VR also makes it unique. I think as often as we want to talk about what PlayStation lacked, like we also have to acknowledge the ways that it is forming its own identity with stuff like VR in a way that no one else is, which is so cool. So need, no, but do I want it? Yes. Do I think the idea of PS Plus, PS Now, and like everything kind of under one roof, I think that's probably the most convenient thing to do, just in terms of like downsizing all the different things you have. I think also like, PlayStation's been notoriously great at like just being very clear with names: PS4, PS5, PSP, but like the PS Plus versus like PS Plus collection, like those are also too similar that I always end up mixing them up too. Or then I'll think like, wait, what's PS Now called again? And then just in general, I think PS Now just needs a rebrand. Whenever there's complaints about PS Now, people always say it's actually not that different from Game Pass, and like it's been changed a lot, and the price is different from whatever. Like the reason I don't know about PS Now is because no one ever makes me care about PS Now. It's not at the forefront, and even in times like where this is a show all about PlayStation, and it's so rarely. Like, how often are you all really talking about this game came to PS Now? Like, maybe as a one-off, just to be like, oh, Marvel's there. Like, that's interesting. But it's not like something to get excited about and flock to, and you're not playing games as they hit there. So, like, yeah, I mean, generally, though I wouldn't count that as like a PS5 feature. I would think that that's more like a Sony product being offered on the PlayStation 5. But yeah, I mean, I don't know anyone that would look at the PlayStation version of Game Pass and say, no, I don't want that. That'd be bad. Like, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. To the point of PS Now needing a rebrand or needing some kind of push behind it, I think that I've wanted to do, that I've thought about, I've not brought this up at all to like Greg or anybody, but like it could be fun to do a hashtag PSly played and just have it be PlayStation Now. Just as a like, hey, let's all try it and play it. So we can actually really dive in and be like, what are the things that are missing?
Now in review, like what is this service actually like?
Yeah, because I think
do that.
I think it's worth it just to be like, because that's the thing that keeps coming up is PlayStation Now in comparison with Game Pass, and every time we talk about it, there are always those people that are like, hey man, y'all are excluding, like you can download games on PlayStation Now you can there's these games on it, Marvel's Avengers is on it, and there's a vocal audience there that I think will fight for PlayStation Now. But to your point of it needing a rebrand, or at least something to kind of bring it to the forefront, nobody really thinks about it in that way. Nobody talks about it in that way. And I think part of that is when you talk about Game Pass, you're talking about them putting first-party games on it. You're talking about games like Outriders coming out at launch. You're talking about games like MLB The Show coming out on it at launch. And there just feels like it feels like there's a whole different focus on Game Pass for Xbox than PlayStation with PS Now. For PlayStation, PS Now is an additional feature on PlayStation, right? Whereas Game Pass, that is the focus for Xbox.
Yes.
But to your point, yeah, like if there was a Game Pass competitor now on Game Pass, if it was a Game Pass competitor on PlayStation 5, I would be totally down for that, right? I think that'd be a really awesome thing. And I think it'd be great separated from the whole Game Pass conversation and Xbox in competition and all that stuff, separated from all of that. I think it'd just be great as an option for people to get into games for a lower price. Because gaming is expensive. Games have gone up to $70 for full price games on these new gen consoles. And that is providing a lot of challenges for people. Whether you want to talk about having the money to buy games, whether you want to talk about accessibility and wanting the ability to try games before you actually invest in them, like that's become a bigger thing that I've seen talked about by folks like Steve Saylor and others. That is such a valuable product to have, and I think there is a better way to do it, or at least to promote it and advertise it and package it up than PlayStation Now, and whether that is putting it in PS Plus. Or finding a way to package all that stuff together in a way that feels way more of in a way that it feels like more of a bigger thing. I think there's something there for it.
It's not even that PlayStation Now is necessarily bad. It's just at this point, like it's gone through so many iterations and like the initial pitch wasn't that enticing. So even though now the product might be more enticing, it's still in my head, it's the PS Now that was announced like a long time ago and it wasn't that interesting. I think at this point, they do have to kind of Trojan horse it in there if they want people to get excited about it.
And they also need to try to figure out how to be able to download PS3 games. I feel like that's
that
still,
too.
like that's a
That
huge
too.
thing where it's like Game Pass, you can download like all of those games on your Xbox,
all the legacy
correct?
games.
Where it's like because of the way PS3 games were developed with the cell processor or whatever the fuck you nerds talk about.
The cell
with the
processor.
PS3.
Nah, man, it was great. The cell processor.
Like
the games hit different.
For some reason,
You have to
there's
be
no
there.
way to download these games. And I feel like if they were able to figure that out, because I think the weakest part of PS Now is the streaming aspect, which was like kind of its core thing at the beginning.
Yeah,
it wasn't until later where you could download
PlayStation Now,
PS4 games. Yeah,
PlayStation Now was just too ahead of its time when it came out.
There's like just little tweaks here and there that I think could make PS Now like really significant.
Jordan, aka Jord on Drums, writes in and says, "I'll love if I could access screenshots and videos from my PS5 on your phone or from the PlayStation app." And I am right there with you, Jord on Drums. This is the thing that frustrates me so much. Like this wasn't a thing on PS4 either, right? But like, I think it's time. I think at this point you need to have that as an option for how shareable everything has become, or as shareable as people want things to be, right? People share clips, share screenshots, and all that stuff all the time. And you have the app. I think you have the infrastructure, right, to be able to take a screenshot and have it automatically upload to a cloud that you can then access from your phone. I don't think is a huge ask and would eliminate so many like small issues for people who love sharing stuff. Like I'm one of those people where yesterday I took a clip of an Apex kill that I got. I'm very proud of that Apex kill. It was a great Apex kill. It was me, Yusef, Brianna. We were fighting somebody who was downhill. No, I never. This is my first time playing it. No, I play Apex. Yeah, we're fighting somebody downhill.
You should talk about it more.
I slid, jumped, got behind them, murdered them. Janet murdered this person, saved the clip, and I was like, oh yeah, that was awesome. But
congratulations.
Yeah, but I didn't tweet it because I didn't want to tweet it as the main tweet. I wanted to tweet it as a reply to a tweet I made that was, "Man, I love Apex," but I didn't want it to be the main thing because I didn't want to act like I was bragging about that kill. You know what I mean? Because like it was a good kill. It wasn't like an amazing kill. It was a good kill. And so I figured a reply tweet would fit this well. To do that, I would have had to have like put a USB in my PS5. I would have had to save that
into the inner workings of your. Are you thinking this much all the time about everything? It sounds exhausting.
Yes, I am. I would have had to put a USB. I would have had to save it there. I would have had to connect it back to my computer.
And you already have the USB for the external storage, so now you got to take it out. Then it's like, hey, you ejected this external storage.
I get it,
and it's a struggle. On my Xbox, all that shit just saves, and I can access it on my phone and save it and just tweet it however I want to.
Yes.
And so I would like that functionality. Also, when I tweet clips directly from my PlayStation 5, Twitter compresses that shit to hell. It is fucked up the things that they do to my videos.
I feel from my PlayStation 5. Sending videos from Switch to Twitter is like better than sending videos from PlayStation to Twitter. It's fucking insane.
Well, especially too because like the edit, like it's nice that there's like way more editing features like on PS5 versus something like Switch where it's like way more minimalistic. But the amount of time, it also just kills the flow. Like in general, like a lot of companies need to streamline this whole thing, like of sharing stuff, because it's like, oh, I'm having fun. Let me take this clip of this thing. Okay, let me go to my thing. Let me make sure it's like edited properly. Like, let me like add in all the stuff. And then also too, like there's additional like reasons it sucks to share straight from console, because if you like you can't swear when you share straight from console. And sometimes I swear in my tweets. So I have to like, okay, now let me do this manually. And like,
God,
it's so like, you know, like,
ridiculous.
Oh, we blocked this message because of whatever. Now I have to like my filtered ass message. It's just a mess. But yeah, I would love to see that, especially because like it would get me to more like readily use the app. Now that the app is bad, and they did mention like some of the app, like on the blog post they mentioned like some of the updates they've recently made to the PlayStation app. That being one of them would be really, really cool.
Yeah. So far, Janet, for our 10 features the PS5 still needs conversation, we've talked about 8 features so far. They are expandable SSD storage, better support for legacy titles, improvement to activity cards, themes, folders, a Game Pass competitor, screenshots and videos on phone, and I am somehow missing one. What did I miss? A streamlined way to turn off the console. Yes. So we have 2 more to talk about, one from you and then 1 more from the audience. And so Janet, what is your last one you want to talk about?
Quick resume. I'm still in it from Xbox. It's a great feature. Let's do it. Or just easier game switching. It doesn't even necessarily need to be quick resume proper, but it's not easy to switch between games, and I want it to be, especially for like the amount of times that I am playing, like you mentioned, games like FIFA or like games that I'm just kind of casually jumping into every now and then versus stuff that I'm like more so mainlining. Yes, that's what I want.
I'm right there with you. You know what? I
Also,
looked at it right in
someone in the chat, JT Savage said, "Let me record for a minute, not 30 seconds or 5 minutes." That's very accurate too.
You know what? Yeah.
Wait, you can record for a minute though, can't you? Like, isn't it like 135?
Wait, what do you mean?
For what's the capture settings on PlayStation? Is it really 30 seconds or one?
Are you talking about when you are setting it, like when you press start recording?
Yeah.
Then you can.
Yeah, it lets you edit those a little bit, right?
Yes, but I think they're talking about when you save recent gameplay.
You double hit like the share button or whatever, and that like automatically captures a clip for you.
Oh, yes. I think you can edit that in the settings though, actually. I think you can go deep into the settings and
you can do that. But what this person is talking about is when you go to save recent gameplay and then you go to save short clip. It then goes 1535.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is what I think they're talking about specifically, which I'm right there with you. I would like a minute or maybe 2 minutes.
Just
30 seconds never feels like enough.
Yeah, it's 35, 15, 30, or an hour to save recent gameplay.
Yeah.
That's chat. Yeah. It's that is a weird 30 seconds is like not having that 1 minute is kind of
odd. I got one more here from Jordan Lee Rowan. He talks about more controller options. They write in and say, it's simple. Black controllers. With these white ones, it doesn't take long for those handles to get real nasty. And yeah, I'm to add more to that. I'll just say customizable, like more customized controllers in general, like more colors. I've wanted PlayStation to have the equivalent to
Design Labs.
Xbox Design Labs, yes.
Which is currently on hiatus for a little while. I don't know when they're bringing that back yet. I don't think they've brought it back yet with this new gen. But yeah, I would like that, especially now that we have the DualSense, which personally, I felt like DualShock 4 custom controllers or different colorways never really looked that good to me. I think because the controller is so thin, it just doesn't have the real estate to be visually appealing, in my opinion. But now that the DualSense is a little bit meatier, I think it would look really good with some Design Lab stuff. So yeah, I'd like that as well. I don't find that the white ones get like nasty though. I mean, you do have to be a little more, but I don't know. I'm not.
Wait, say it again. You cut out for a second.
I don't think the white ones get like super nasty or anything like that. Like the controller,
just don't eat Doritos while playing. You know.
Yeah, like
here's my thing.
Which is unfortunate.
You get chopsticks and Flamin' Hot Cheetos. Ooh, like it's a lifestyle.
Yep.
Yeah, like mine have never gotten nasty at all, but I have seen pictures of people on Twitter who've tweeted out that like, oh yeah, look at my PlayStation 5 controller and it looks like fucking dirt. Like I don't know if it's
their hands, bless. They need to.
It might be a sweat thing. Like maybe people just sweat more than others.
Did you own one of those controllers that had the fan in the back?
No, was that a thing?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, on like PlayStation 3 era, even like PS2 era. Yeah, I had like it wasn't Mad Catz. It was like a different third party like off-brand controller. Yeah, something like that. But you had a fan built into the back. You could have it like low, high. I low-key want them to bring those back. They were so useful.
I remember those.
Right? You should you gotta try it out. It's an experience.
It was great because my hands get sweaty, especially like when playing MLB The Show. And yeah, my hands get sweaty, but my DualSense hasn't gotten dirty. So I think these kids' hands are just dirty, bless. They're not using the chopsticks.
What can you do when you're riding dirty? What can you do?
Please wash your hands.
Janet, we have our 10 features that the PS5 still needs. They go like this: expandable SSD storage, better support for legacy titles, improvement to activity cards, themes, a streamlined way to turn off the console, quick resume / better game switching, folders, a Game Pass competitor, screenshots and videos on your phone, and then more controller options. We did it, everybody. Sony, you can hire us. We got you. We'll take the PS5 into victory over the course of the generation. Let's get into PlayStation updates, but before we do, let me tell you about our sponsor. This episode of PS I Love You XOXO is brought to you by ExpressVPN. A few decades ago, private citizens used to be largely that. Private. What changed? The internet. Think about everything you've browsed, searched for, watched, or tweeted. Now imagine all that data being crawled through, collected, and aggregated by third parties into a permanent public record, your record. Having your private life exposed for others to see was once something only celebrities worried about. But in an era where everyone is online, everyone is a public figure. To keep my data private when I go online, I turn to ExpressVPN. Did you know there are hundreds of data brokers out there whose sole business is to buy and sell your data? The worst part is they don't have to tell you who they're selling it to or get your consent. One of these data points is your IP address. Data harvesters use your IP address to uniquely identify you and your location. But with ExpressVPN, my connection gets rerouted through an encrypted server and my IP address is masked. Every time I turn my ExpressVPN on, I'm given a random IP address shared by other ExpressVPN customers. That makes it more difficult for third parties to identify me and harvest my data. And the best part is how easy ExpressVPN is to use. No matter what device you're on, phone, laptop, or smart TV, all you have to do is tap one button to get protected. So, if like me, you believe that your data is your business, secure yourself with the #1 rated VPN on the market. Visit expressvpn.com/kindafunny and get 3 extra months for free. That is expressvpn.com/kindafunny. Go to expressvpn.com/kindafunny to learn more. We're also brought to you by Canva. Listen, design is hard. I'm talking about art design. Even making thumbnails in Photoshop can be hard sometimes for me, but that's why I'm excited to tell you about Canva. Kinda Funny loves Canva. Tim Gettys says himself that it is super dope and easy to use. It makes all design stuff. You just pick styles you like, and it does all the work. Super helpful for creators. Canva Pro is the easy-to-use design platform that has everything you need to design like a pro. Whether you're a professional designer or just getting started, Canva Pro can help you boost you and your team's productivity and creativity. It's a quick, easy, and affordable way to design whatever you need. No matter what you're creating and sharing, Canva Pro has everything you need in one place, including a collection of over 75 million premium photos, videos, audio, and graphics. Plus, Canva Pro comes with time-saving tools that simplify and speed up the creative process. You get all this and more in just one Canva Pro subscription. One of my favorite Canva features is how you can stay on brand. Preset your brand's fonts, colors, and logo for a unified look across all designs. There's no idea too big or too small for Canva Pro, whether you're like me, struggling to make video thumbnails, or you're an entrepreneur, or even a crafty mom. I love this ad. Design like a pro with Canva Pro. Right now, you can get a free 45-day extended trial when you use my promo code. Just go to canva.me/kfgames to get your free 45-day extended trial. That is canva.me/kfgames. Canva.me/kfgames. And we're back with PlayStation updates. We actually tackled one already, which would have been the PlayStation Store coming back on PS3 and PS Vita. Do you have anything left to say about that? Do we feel like we're good with that conversation?
Yeah, I'm excited to put off buying these games again until they announce the closing again, and then I will shuffle over and try to get all these games on my Vita.
Hell yeah, same. All right, then let's talk about our hopes and dreams for Ghost of Tsushima Legends 2, or whatever Sucker Punch's multiplayer game is. I am pulling from a news story that went up last week from Matt Purslow at IGN, who talks about how Sucker Punch is working on a multiplayer game. Ghost of Tsushima developer Sucker Punch is working on a new project that it describes as a spectacular multiplayer game. The news arrives in the form of a job advertisement on Sucker Punch's job recruitment website. The developer is seeking a multiplayer/network programmer to join its team in Bellevue, Washington. Quote, "Our talented multiplayer designers create awesome game team experiences, and you'll be pivotal in bringing that creativity to life in a spectacular multiplayer game," reads the job description. As for if this new project is a Tsushima multiplayer game, Sucker Punch has recently advertised for a writer with a, quote, "desire to write stories set in feudal Japan," end quote. We can't tell if these projects are related or separate right now, but take from that what you will. Janet, what's your take on this new multiplayer project? Do you think it is Ghost of Tsushima related or something entirely different?
Man, what a weird time for this kind of story with talking about series on PlayStation, and then also things that don't end up getting picked up to be a series. I'm gonna say that it is, because the whole thing with and Blessing, you're a Legends expert. You played a bunch of Tsushima Legends. That whole thing was the multiplayer angle, and I feel like to your points earlier, when talking about that DLC, you're like, oh, that was some of the best parts of it. So I think you're probably not the only person that has that sentiment or that feedback. So I'm guessing they might want to double down on that and maybe make that a more integrated role in the mainline campaign version of whatever Ghost of Tsushima 2 would be. So I would bet that it's the same thing. I think it's usually, especially because Ghost of Tsushima I think it sold pretty well. It was fairly critically acclaimed. Pretty much everyone likes that game at least a little bit. So yeah, I'm going to guess it's the second one. like a continuation in the series, and that they're just going to have multiplayer play a more like prominent role in the campaign.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think this is 100% going to be Ghost of Tsushima Legends. When that game came out, when I say game, I mean Legends specifically. When that came out as an extra mode within Ghost of Tsushima, it I think had such a good reception. Everybody that tried it that I know of loved it, and I loved it. You know, and I think it was a fantastic use of that gameplay and the world of Ghost of Tsushima. I thought it was just as interesting and fascinating because the whole thing with it in terms of its story and lore was that it was this retelling of the actual story of Ghost of Tsushima, but told in this mystical, fantastical way based on legends. There you have Ghost of Tsushima Legends. And I think that could, like, when we talk about PlayStation and the stories that we've been talking about over the last few weeks in terms of how they greenlight stuff and in terms of them wanting to build franchises and probably work on fewer new IP, but creating ways to continue to uplift those fewer IP in the way that we talk about Last of Us, right? Getting a possible remake, Last of Us multiplayer, Last of Us TV show, been working on mobile stuff that will probably include Last of Us to some extent. I could see Ghost of Tsushima being treated a very similar way.
Last of Us AR game, can't wait.
Last of Us VR. I could see Ghost of Tsushima getting that similar kind of treatment where you do get Ghost of Tsushima 2, but then following it, or maybe before it, depending on what the timelines are, we do get Ghost of Tsushima Legends, and the games work together in order to build up the Ghost of Tsushima brand and make it this thing that people continue to flock to, because Ghost of Tsushima Legends or Ghost of Tsushima sales of the proper game are really good. And I'm even looking at this article from happygamer.com that talks about Ghost of Tsushima Legends player count, right? It's an article written by, I cannot find the name of whoever wrote the article. It's probably at the end. No, there's just no name. Interesting. But this article from happygamer.com goes, on October 16th, Sucker Punch Productions released the first update for Ghost of Tsushima, which added a new game plus mode to its single player campaign, as well as multiplayer expansion called Legends, where 2 players can team up for co-op story missions, and 4 players can team up for survival challenges and the newly added raid. On Friday, Sucker Punch and Sony shared the total player count for Legends, revealing that over 11 million missions have been played, 141 million Oni had been defeated, etc. I thought they would have an actual player count, but based on those numbers, right? Like, pretty good numbers in terms of like people who have completed missions. Probably speaks
for DLC, where people don't usually play DLC. I mean, how many people actually finished Ghost to begin with that would want to go into the DLC? Like, that number is already lower, so I think we have to take that into account too. Like, even if the numbers aren't like, you know, completely insane, like, that's already a really small demographic slice.
Yeah, and like the article talking about how over 11 million missions have been played. That, I mean, I could probably estimate that maybe that means 3 million players, a few million players that actually did hop into Legends to check it out. And that begs the question of, hey, how many would have checked it out if it was just released as a free-to-play thing that was separate from Ghost of Tsushima? Or what happens if you release it as a $20 title or $30 title that people can jump into that is separate from Tsushima, but you build up as its own thing? I think them releasing Legends, it getting such a positive response speaks to the fact that there's something there that people will show up for and that gets people hyped. And so
also there's a Jin Funko Pop, so I think that there will be a second game based on that alone.
1000%. Then our last PlayStation update. Janet, do you want to speculate with me?
Sure.
Could PlayStation buy Square Enix? ? Before we even get into it, I'm gonna put out there the answer is probably no. But the reason I asked this question is because last week, Square Enix responded to a report that multiple companies are interested in the acquisition. I'm pulling from Hiren Cryer at Games Radar. Square Enix has responded to reports that multiple companies are looking to acquire it, saying it, quote, does not consider selling off the company, end quote. The short response also states that they have yet to receive any offers from third parties, after an earlier report claimed several unnamed companies are considering making an acquisition offer. The statement reads, quote, Bloomberg has reported today that there is interest from several buyers to acquire Square Enix. However, this report is not based on any announcement by Square Enix Holdings Company Limited, end quote. This follows this original report saying a Square Enix acquisition could be in the works according to a new report. I feel like I'm just passing reports back and forth.
Yeah, it's just like they just stack on each other.
It's like, according to this report that bounced off of this report. This news comes from Bloomberg Japan with a relatively short and snappy post claiming that multiple companies are currently interested in acquiring Square Enix, although the report doesn't name any of the companies that are currently pursuing the potential acquisition. However, don't take this as a guarantee that Square Enix will actually be acquired by another company. As the MPD Group's Matt Piscatella notes in a tweet, just about every big name publisher in the games industry looks into potential partnerships, mergers, and acquisitions, but it's incredibly rare that something like this actually goes ahead. I like the story just as a thing to speculate about, because I think there's a very little chance that PlayStation acquires Square Enix. But Janet, what if? What great of a move that would be to counter the
I think anything is possible. I mean, it's like, you don't know how, desperate they would be to have something like that, or how much they want something like that in their portfolio. Like, I feel like, a few months ago or a few years ago, would we have said that Microsoft would buy Bethesda? I don't think it's like a crazy thing to have speculated prior, but I don't think it was necessarily a prediction, because like those things are so expensive and such a big investment. And you also, it also takes both players wanting to agree to that kind of deal. So there's, even as that like original report mentions, where it's like, oh, the people are always looking into things, but doesn't mean anything's going to happen. But it also means it doesn't mean anything isn't going to happen as well. So like, yeah, I could totally see that world. And God, I would love to be around for those conversations, just because like there's so much like random bad blood between fan bases of like, oh, like buying this is, now you're making this thing exclusive, but then like PlayStation is so like powerful with exclusives. I would just love to be there for the drama of if PlayStation bought Square. But yeah, technically possible. Is it likely? Probably not, especially given Square's statement of like, oh, we're not for sale, but also everyone's not for sale until they are. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's the big thing, right? I think Square Enix coming out and making the statement of, hey, we're not for sale. Like, sure, that's probably that. I do believe that statement from the fact of, to their investors, they're probably like, hey, don't worry, like these aren't actual real things.
Exactly.
Please stay with us. But then also, anybody would say that if you're a big company like Square Enix that is publicly traded, I think you would say this regardless of what the actual, like what conversations are happening, no matter how small or how big. And I could see on a very, very small scale, a bigger company talking about, hey, what if we did try to go for this, and that being a thing. But again, those conversations are always so murky and so and weird to piece out, and don't necessarily mean that the thing is actually going to happen. Cool to speculate. Janet, it's time for PlayStation picks. This is where we highlight a few of the cool looking games coming to PSN this week. Starting with the big hitters, we got MLB The Show 21. That's coming to PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4. It's also coming to Xbox Series X/S and Xbox One, which I usually wouldn't highlight on this show, but it's a PlayStation published game, so might as well name all the platforms. That's coming out on Tuesday, April 20th. We're also getting Judgment. That's coming out on PlayStation 5 Friday, April 23rd.
And again, if you want to hear Kind of Funny reviews, you can go over to Kind of Funny XCast live every Saturday morning, usually at 6 a.m. Pacific. We had a special episode that went up early for the MLB The Show review so far, where myself, Paris Lily, and Snowbike Mike talked about our time with the game.
What a bizarro world. Oh, actually, I'm going to ask you that when we get to what we've been playing, Bear, because I do want to hear your MLB The Show thoughts, because we should talk about that on a PlayStation show.
My response is just going to be the link to this week's XCast. No,
God damn it. We also got Near Replicant version, or let me correct that. Near Replicant VER dot 1.22474487139. That's coming to, or dot after that. There's an ellipsis after that 9. That's coming to PS4 on Friday, April 23rd. And then there's a Resident Evil Village Castle demo that's coming to PS5 and PS4 on Saturday, April 24th. In terms of our actual PlayStation picks, coming out on Thursday, April 22nd, we have Buildings Have Feelings 2. That's coming to PS4. Buildings Have Feelings 2 is an exciting new city management game about buildings in the city they inhabit. Imagine a city where buildings can walk and talk to one another. Each one has its own aspirations, hopes, and fears. And listen, if you're listening to the audio podcast and you're like, that sounds preposterous, certainly that can't be what the actual game is. I implore you, come over to the video version of the show so you can actually watch the trailer that's playing, because it is exactly what I just described.
Now I'm just picturing like the earlier conversation we had of like random cars flying through these buildings in Spider-Man's New York, and now I'm just thinking of these buildings actually being people, and that's so sad.
It is a hilarious trailer, because when I was doing research for PlayStation picks, this game came up and I was like, oh, certainly it's going to be just whatever indie game. And watching the trailer and seeing buildings walk around the city, talk to each other, have dialogue, that looks fun. That looks fun. Shout out to them.
They're just little buildings with like the little like arms and legs. It's cute.
Yeah, little
It's
stick
cute.
figure arms. It's great.
Yeah.
And then we also got Smelter that's coming out on PlayStation 4 Thursday, April 22nd. You are Eve, fresh out of Eden and armed with a living suit of armor, Smelter. Explore a dangerous new world, battle its bizarre denizens, and expand your empire in a desperate journey to find Adam. It's the Adam and Eve game we've all wanted. I'm all about this.
Sure.
I'm all about this. And if you look at
You know
the actual
offhand?
it's like a 2D like action platformer. We have gameplay here playing finally. Yeah, it looks pretty cool, honestly. Like, aside from the ridiculous premise and you playing as Eve on your search for Adam, game looks really cool. Has fun pixel art, has fun combat, it looks like. Apparently has some strategy game elements to it. Go get him, Smelter. Janet, it's time to talk about what we've been playing. What have you been playing?
I've been playing Overcooked All You Can Eat. I've been playing this game for a long time. I got it before it had come out on PS5, and it came out on all consoles, like all gens this year, but it came out on PS5 last year. I am working on that because I'm working on the platinum for that game, which is a pain because it's a platinum for like you have to play like 2 games, but you only get 1 platinum, that is what it is. But yeah, I'm working on that with my brother's fiance. Like, we're both playing through it. We have like the best Overcooked gameplay ever. Like, I'm not like I don't normally brag about like my gaming ability because I feel like I'm fine. Like, I'm just all right. But Overcooked, yeah, no, we got that stuff down to a science. No arguments, just vibes and strategy. It's so good, so much fun. And yeah, man, I love that game. And it's like one of the few games that I actually am excited to be digging into every element of it. Like, All You Can Eat includes like all the DLC. And man, like that DLC, that Overcooked is just such a good game. Like, they got like the carnivals and like you're making s'mores. Like, there's so many like creative and fun recipes in there. So I'm digging into that a lot. It Takes Two, playing that with my brother.
Yeah.
We're now 8 hours in. So we're
How are you liking it?
I like it, but I feel like it's like super fun. Like, it's very creative. I feel like it's very much the developers showing off what they can do with this concept of 2-player co-op. However, I feel like it says so many things, it kind of ends up saying nothing mechanically. I think it goes through too many ideas too quickly. But yeah, overall, I mean, I think I'd recommend that game for sure. Like, it's really fun. And I think every now and then I will say, people are gonna be like, oh, it's a co-op game. But like, I think sometimes it's too cooperative in the sense that you don't get a lot of times where you can kind of splinter off and do your own thing. There are some areas in which you can do that, but I feel like they're less so the case than in something like A Way Out, where it did feel like you could spend a lot of time kind of working on separate stuff and then coming back together. So I wish that flow was a little bit more sparsed out. But yeah, enjoying it overall.
Hell yeah.
And then other than that, just Cozy Grove and Ring Fit Adventure. I've been trying to beat Ring Fit since it came out. But it's exercise, so it's taking a while.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've not played Ring Fit Adventure, but I hear so much about it because it came in clutch for so many people, especially during quarantine, to work out. Can you beat that game? I didn't know you could beat it.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Story mode, baby.
Yeah.
Wow.
Did you play it, Bear? Did you beat it?
We haven't beat it, but yeah, that was something that Alyssa eventually like really wanted, so we tracked one down, and we started it a while back ago. She got way farther than I did, but yeah, it's a really fun game.
It's got like 20 worlds. Like, when it says fitness RPG, it's like an RPG for real. Like, that thing is. I don't know how many. I don't have my Switch handy, so I can't look at the hours. But I have a lot of hours into that game, and I'm still only on like World 15, and I've been playing that game since the day the game came out. So, but exercise.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I've been playing. Well, I'll start off with Resident Evil 7 because I started playing that for the Kind of Funny stream. Me and Andy been playing that one together. We played the first 3 hours, and let me tell you, it's a pretty good game. I am a terrified person, and so God. Playing that game.
Go to twitter.com/kindoffunnyvids, Instagram or no, twitter.com/kindoffunnyvids.
Oh, Blessing. Twitter. Sorry.
Don't
you're right.
Stay in your lane. I am the social guy. Stay in your lane,
right.
Blessing.
Go sorry.
to that clip out of Blessing reacting to whatever came out of that, like the wall at one point. One of the funniest clip outs.
We call him Joel McWolves.
Why?
If you watch the clip, you'll get why. But yeah, I am a terrified person, man. I playing the first 3 hours of Resident Evil 7. Both me and Andy had plenty of jump scares, and to bounce off Barrett, go over to youtube.com/kindafunnyplays and check out the VOD of me and Andy playing those first 3 hours. Cause man, it is stressful. Any game that has a presence that is following you and trying to track you down in a building, I am terrified of. And so Resident Evil 2, hella scary for me. Resident Evil 7, I didn't realize that was a thing. I didn't realize that was coming back. And so when that started, I was like, oh fuck no. That all and I actually described it like this to I think I described it like this on the stream, or maybe it was off stream, I forget. But I was talking to Andy and I was like, dude, it reminds me how there's a Dave Chappelle stand-up where he's at the Laugh Factory and he was talking about Kramer, because Kramer had the thing where he went crazy at the Laugh Factory and started saying all these racial slurs and whatever. And Dave Chappelle was like, as a black man, I was offended and I was like, Kramer, how dare you? But as a comedian, I was like, you got this, Kramer. You can do it.
He was having a bad set. Yep.
Yeah, it was a bad set.
This is back-to-back Chappelle references on episodes of PS I Love You.
Was there one last week?
Yeah, you mentioned the Coke or Pepsi, what everyone's paying me the most.
Yeah. God, I love Dave Chappelle. I love Dave Chappelle so much.
I'm excited to see what the next reference is going to be next episode.
Stay tuned next week for another Dave Chappelle reference.
More Dave Chappelle, more Apex Legends.
But to that end, right? I was talking to Andy and I was like, hey man, I have the similar thing where as a person who is like as a gamer, right, playing this game on stream right now, I'm fucking terrified at every single moment in this game, and I hate this experience. But as somebody who plays a lot of games and loves to critique and comment about games, this game is really good. The game has a really good game design. Like, they fucking killed it. What a good game. And so shout out to Resident Evil 7.
It's so awesome.
I actually can't wait to play more.
I'm so excited that you're playing it. That's so cool. Like, that's the first Resident Evil game I ever played. And I had played with my friend who like had played like all the Resident Evil games, which is great because she like understood like all the weird take this shape and then twist it to make a key, like all the random weird Resident Evil stuff of it. But yeah, that's such a fantastic game. And like, I really urge everyone listening, even if you don't like horror, if you can at all handle it, like it's not gonna like, you know, give you crazy nightmares or anything, you absolutely should play it. Because I think even though it is scary, I don't know, I guess it gives you enough downtime and there's enough sim elements to how Resident Evil is pacing wise that I find it really manageable. And there are jump scares, but it's not like, you know, super overdone or anything like that. So yeah, I'm also just like you, Blessing. Like, I'm so terrified all the time, but I will stomach it for Resident Evil because God, those games are good.
Also, I do want to give a shout out to how much the game is like the Resident Evil games that I actually really love and really appreciate. I think a big part of why I never gravitated toward Resident Evil 7 when it first released, and why I didn't really care much about RE8 was because, you know, a couple years ago, RE2 Remake came out, and I loved playing that game. That was one of my games of the year that year. And then playing RE3, like I have a lot of critiques with RE3, super short game that feels very, very thin in a lot of places. But I do enjoy that type of game. I do enjoy that type of Resident Evil. And just by looking at trailers and stuff, I didn't realize that RE7 and RE8 by extension were very much that, but just first person. And so I always got the vibe that RE7 was just dynamically different, and I didn't really care about that. Not that I thought it was going to be bad or anything like that, because I know people have amazing things to say about RE7 and RE8, but I just wrote them off as just not something that interested me. And playing RE7 so far, I'm like, oh shit, this really is the same exact type of game, just different perspective. And so very much looking forward to playing more. I also been playing Disco Elysium for our hashtag PFC played this. Janet, I played Disco Elysium pretty much all weekend, nonstop. Like the only thing, all I did this weekend was play Disco Elysium and nap. And I am into it. I don't know if it's my character build, because I made a character with high intelligence, but then also low psyche. And everything is so depressing. Like, everything is like, my character just has this terrible view of the world. Everybody in the world is so like mean. It seems like so sad. Like, the game is just so depressing to play, but I'm into it. Like, I'm enjoying every single dialogue sequence. The game just feels so in depth with its writing and how much of the world that it fleshes out. It has gotten very political, which I think I was expecting a little bit, but I wasn't expecting it to go to the extent where it is, to where now the game is basically trying to make me choose what my political standing is. And I have two political ideologies that I'm kind of bouncing back and forth between. The game keeps trying to push me toward one. And it feels like the game is trying to turn me into a but I'm like, I am not a communist, but I'm also not this thing either. Like, where's the spectrum? I'm somewhere in the spectrum, you know. And so it's been a fun thing to kind of go back and forth within that in the game, and then also still have that thing where I feel like I am solving a case. Like, it is a detective game where I am talking to all the characters I meet, trying to figure out what their view is of the world and what happened and the case and all this stuff. It really is making me go through all those motions in a way that feels like I am truly role playing this detective, which is really cool. So I'm really liking it. Can't wait to talk about it with Greg in a few weeks.
Bless. I feel very guilty because I said I would do this along with you guys, and I have not touched Disco Elysium since that first hour.
Dude, you got time
Disco
though.
Elysium too. Like, I really wanted to get a review out by the end of the month. The game's really long. It's like 40 hours at least. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to get to this. And I still have not like fully dug into it, but hopefully I'll be able to play it in time to like hear y'all talk about it for that episode. Cause I've been wanting to like jump in on stuff like that too, just to like, it's really fun like playing an older game and getting to have content to consume that's still like new, which is like what's such a cool idea about the show. So hopefully I make it in time. I don't know that I will, but I'm going to try.
Paul Moore in chat says you're a moralist. Here's the thing, all right? The game keeps telling me that I'm a moralist, and I don't like it because I feel like the game is talking down to me for being a moralist. Because like the game essentially takes place in this alternate world where moralist is basically the game's version of centrism, and I am not a centrist. I am not a centrist.
Ooh.
I am not a centrist. Damn it! But in the game,
if I had known this, I would never have agreed to watch the show.
No, but the way they paint it the way they paint moralism in the game makes it feel like not centrism, but more so like
something.
God damn it! I am not a centrist.
They're trying to make you feel like a Ben Shapiro motherfucker who's like, oh, like I have the moral high ground. That's
very right wing. That's very right wing.
Well, no, he's right wing, but he likes to paint himself as like I'm middle guy.
Here's the thing: the game is basically like, hey, either you are a centrist or you are a communist, nowhere in between. And I'm like, I'm somewhere in between. Damn it! let me be on the spectrum.
Blessing unlocked. I like it.
No, it's Disco Elysium that's making me mad.
It
keeps talking down to me.
Hey, if you're in the center,
it keeps talking down to me.
Oh man, I need to play more of this game.
Like, let me just be left wing.
Pitch. I'm like, let me see what kind of censorship Blessing's getting up to in this game.
But my thing is, let me just be left wing. Because here's the thing: there's pretty much four political alignments in the game. You have moralist, which is like centrist, but seems like it's left leaning centrist a little bit. You have communist. You have I forget the name of the one, but it's basically racist. And then you also have ultra liberalism, which is basically actually right wing when you actually go into the nuts and bolts of it.
Oh, that's a lot.
And so it's like no matter what you choose, you are an extreme of something.
So it's like a neoliberal almost.
For what? For ultra liberal? No, it's more. It's way more right wing.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But this is like the game equivalent of when like you're in Blessing, you and I were talking about like music and how to find new music and being washed and stuff. But like this is like the game equivalent of when your algorithm, like your Discover Weekly, gives you like trash songs, and it's like, wait, does my algorithm think I'm basic? That is,
yeah, it's like when
Elysium think I'm a centrist.
But also,
it's like when TikTok
neoliberalism is like we're you support gay rights, but you still don't care about like homeless people. It's very like financial.
Big San Francisco energy.
Yeah, big San Francisco energy. Exactly.
Hold on, let me see if I can. I'm gonna see if I can actually find the. Oh my god, the bright.
Where you love the aesthetic. You love the aesthetics of liberalism.
Right now in another window.
It's my second monitor.
You love the aesthetic of liberalism, but you love capitalism. That's what neoliberal is.
So like you're
looking at that monitor was like that cat meme of where
it's like you're fiscally conservative and socially liberal.
Okay.
Yeah, those people. Love those kind of people.
Okay, here we go. So there's four alignments, right? There's communism. I love how we're getting into deep political discussion based on Elysium, but it's that type of game. There's communism.
Like, why are y'all talking about this if it's games? Like, what if the game is political?
Yeah, and we all know what communism is. I think it's the same type of communism in the real world. There's fascism. This is the baddest of all the ideologies, so no one admits they're a fascist. Rather, they're traditionalist or nationalist. A term
classic.
They get really angry if you associate with fascism, and they go on about it. But that's one of the political alignments. There's moralism. And it's basically described as quote unquote normal, right? Finally, something normal, enough of those ramblings. In this world, there's also a sensible ideology for people who simply want to do good by everyone. How? By looking at the options on the table and saying, no, I don't want any of those associated with me. I just want to play a regular, inconsequential, doesn't really believe in anything type of detective.
God.
And so it's basically describing it as centrist. And then you have ultra liberal, which is, do you grind and hustle? Sure you do. You're a money engineer, a money scientist. You move money on a level inconceivable to the ordinary citizen. What is money anyway? Money is trust, and it's basically describing as somebody who is basically ultra capitalist. And so, like, those are your alignments. Those are all your choices.
Damn.
Oh, people were asking, when do we need to finish by to catch the episode? Like, when's that coming out?
Oh, that is a good question that you don't have an answer for. I mean, probably
the first
this time next month.
Yeah,
I would imagine. Like, probably like mid next month. We usually
do like the first episode of the month, right?
No, it ranges. I think we've shifted from like first, second. Really, it depends on when we both beat the game next month. Is really what the real answer is, and when there's a topic of the show that isn't going to take up the whole show. When you have a kind of a free-ish week to expand on that conversation, is the real answer. But there you go, Disco Elysium. I'm having a great time with it. The game is super smart.
I'm looking forward to play. I have to play it now so I can judge you.
You're gonna. I mean, no matter what you do, I think you're gonna end up judging yourself too, based on how the characterizes you.
Well, I was gonna do that already, even if I didn't play the game. So I might as well queue it up. But that sounds cool.
This is the point in the show where we do hashtag PS I love photo mode, but since Greg isn't here, we're going to table that for next week. Remember, this week's photo mode is Disco Elysium, and so send your screenshots. Janet, I want to bring back a fan favorite segment called Trophy Talk. Now, this is a fun one because since you're the guest of the show, this is where I would look up your trophies and have a breakdown of your trophies. But right now I'm on PSN profiles and I'm trying to refresh Game Onesis.
Oh, that's not my name on PSN.
What's your name on PSN?
Janet G94, baby.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Can you tell
that
I made it before I made all my
That's got
social
Merc
media?
City 64 fucking vibes right there. That's great.
Just, it's always a party when Merc City 64 and Janet G94 get together on a show.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, my profile should pop up on PSN profiles. It is there. I made it public earlier today specifically for this reason. So yes.
Thank you. Yeah, because I checked out on PSN earlier because we're PSN friends, and I looked and your trophies were private, and so I was planning to come here, make fun of you, do the whole Greg Miller spiel like he did with me, all that fun stuff to have fun.
I feel like we did miss an opportunity to pretend to be like Greg. One of us should have pretended to be Greg Miller at the start of the episode. Just got that out there.
What's your best Greg Miller impression?
Oh God. Okay. Let's see. What do you want me to talk about? The Vita or something? Locoroco too? Or
you like, what's up, everybody?
What's up, everybody? Greg Miller here.
It was an attempt.
There was an attempt.
And we are, shout out to our Patreon producers, Jeffrey, Long, blessing. We have spent an exorbitant amount of time talking about PlayStation on this podcast. This is a PlayStation show. Obviously, we're going to be talking PlayStation.
This is fantastic.
My question for you is, what do you think that PlayStation needs to do to compete with Microsoft in this ecosystem? And then
I love that your Greg Miller is for some reason Bernie Sanders.
It's a little,
your Greg Miller has a lot of Bernie Sanders energy.
You're nailing the kind of pace. You're nailing the pacing out of like his sentence structures and stuff. Absolutely. Like at first I wasn't sold. It was a 0 out of 10, but you brought me back, Janet. You brought me back.
It took me a while to warm up to it. Like I do some of this in my spare time, as one does, just impersonating people you listen to. But yeah, so I'll bring back another one next time we record.
Hell yeah. Let's see here. So going through Janet G94's trophies, it looks like you've been going hard on that Overcooked All You Can Eat.
I'm going hard on it. So do I just let you roast me, or can I start defending myself?
Listen,
like what do I do here?
I mean, I'm not going to roast you because me and you are like that. We don't care about platinums.
We're cut from the same trash cloth. Okay, because I have an astounding 0 platinums.
Whoa.
And the reason I have 0 platinums. There's a couple of reasons, honestly. One, I actually think I restarted my PSN profile I think I kind of started it or started using it sometime during the PS4 era, which I also got a PS4 pretty late. I got a PS4, I want to say it was after I graduated college that I think I got my PS4. So that was like 2017 or something. So I was like super late to the PS4. So yeah, and then I never really cared about platinum. I know the platinum thing will surprise a lot of people because I have a guides background. Like I built my career writing guides. I was previously an IGN guides writer. So a lot of times people look at that and they say, how is that possible if you write guides? But like when you do a guide, you don't need to platinum it. You just need to like maybe finish it, or maybe you're working on a specific like chain of events like side quests or something. But like platinums often involve like a very specific sort of challenge that you need to like accomplish, and I've just never gone in and done those. But I am interested in changing that. And my first one, I want it to be Overcooked All You Can Eat.
Hell yeah! I saw like going through your trophies, right? Like you're playing Oddworld Soulstorm.
Yes, I was.
First and foremost, which how are you liking that? Because I've not heard anybody talk.
I didn't like it. It didn't grab me. I played 4 hours of it on stream.
Okay.
It was part of my I stream like new games that are either just came out or maybe like that recently came out and I missed on Fridays. So that week Oddworld was like one of the bigger, more notable releases. So I dug into like 3-ish hours of Oddworld.
So you also got like you also got a lot of trophies here in Kentucky Route Zero. Shout out to that.
I beat that game.
It looks like you beat the Pathless, which is really awesome.
I did. Loved it.
Hell yeah. You got a lot of trophies in Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah, I worked on the guide for that game, so I had to do all the side quests. Though I think Casey DeFreitas had stepped in and done one of the side quest guides. So then I like missed that one side quest, but I did almost every side quest in Final Fantasy VII Remake. I have like a ridiculous amount of hours in that game.
And then you are so close actually to all the trophies in Jak and Daxter: The Precursor Legacy.
Really?
You have 32 out of 39 trophies.
But I'm missing probably the hard ones of like getting all the orbs, I'm guessing. But I plan on getting that later this year because I want to do it is the 20th anniversary of Jak and Daxter this year, in case you didn't feel old.
Christ.
It's December 3rd or 4th, I think is the anniversary date off the top of my head. And I want to do like a subathon big stream of playing that game. So I plan on getting the platinum either that day or like making good progress in it. I'll probably just start a fresh save though and just kind of run through it. But my brother got that platinum as his first one, like just a few days ago, and I want that glory for myself. So
now I don't know if you want to ruin it for yourself, but Bander SN does say, fun fact, you can cheat code all of the Jak and Daxter platinums. If you wanted to cheat,
no, I don't want to do it that way. Like not me cheesing something I barely care about. Like that's not what we're gonna do.
Hell yeah! Now, Janet, I brought this to you before the show, and I want to issue you a challenge. Because you and I are cut from the same cloth when it comes to trophies. Neither of us really care that much about platinums. Like I got about 10 platinums, and those are usually for games that I get to the end and I'm like, I want to play way more of this game. Like Shadow of Mordor was one of my first platinums, and the reason I got that platinum was just because I beat that game and I couldn't get enough of it, and I just kept playing and I kept playing until I platinumed it. And there are a few games like that here and there. Fighting games, I'll get the platinums for depending on the fighting game. Usually it's Tekken because Tekken usually has a pretty good trophy list. I want to issue you a challenge because both me and you, we love PlayStation. We don't care about trophies. Both of us, I think, came up listening to shows like Beyond and PS Love You XOXO, and we followed Greg having those trophy competitions with co-hosts, right? Whether it be Colin or whoever else that were on the show at the time. I want to issue you a similar type of challenge, but I don't want it to be cheap, like those Greg Miller. Because Greg Miller was like, what? It was like whoever can get the most platinums and however long.
Exactly,
he would get
and then
50 bullshit.
And then it would be like shit like My Name is Mayo, where you're just tapping on a jar of mayo. Like, get out of here, Greg Miller.
Yeah. So I want to issue you this challenge. All right. First to 5 platinums by the end of the year. And we can talk about the parameters, but with the parameters. The parameters in my mind would be we each present to each other a list of games, and we have to pick the games that the other person are going to platinum.
Okay.
Pick the 5 games that the other person's going to platinum. Okay. So that we can understand, so that we get that they're fair, right? And I think we go for not the cheap platinums, like anything that's under like an hour or two to platinum, like an I Am Bread or not I Am Bread, I Am Mayo or whatever that game was.
I'm bread. I'm whatever. Yeah. You can't be food. Okay.
There can't be food involved. You can clean up games, and so when I say that, I mean like Spider-Man Miles Morales, right? I beat, but I didn't make an attempt for the platinum. I think that is fair game. Ghost of Tsushima, I would say, is fair game.
Does Ghost of Tsushima Platinum include Legends?
No, because Legends came out.
But
later.
Legends was post. So
okay.
So we're not talking about 100%. We're just talking about getting the platinum trophy.
Right. I think that's okay only because, like, my pitch, which I just stole this idea from my boyfriend because I asked him about this. I'm like, hey, my boyfriend loves PlayStation, like huge PlayStation fan. I'm like, hey, I don't know if you care about this or I'll have any input. I kind of like his parameters more, even though they are kind of more intensive. And I don't know how feasible they are. We could also make it less trophies instead of 5. My pitch was only 2021 games. No remasters or re-releases. Remakes are fine. And they have to be games we start after this episode. Because let's be real, we can go in and clean up Miles. Like, we know we can. I could do that today.
Yeah,
like,
but that honest, for us, I feel like that's more feasible. That's more reliable for us.
But it should be a challenge. Like, it is the trophy challenge.
3 platinums by the end of this year. New games.
Yeah, that are from this year. Yeah, I think
that
3.
You start
scale up for next year and stuff. We also started this like partway through the year, so But yeah, I think because then we don't have to really worry about like an even playing field. And I think we can just trust that like we're not each gonna go to like the PlayStation store and look for like random new release that is super. I think we'll genuinely pick games that we're interested in. But yeah, that is my counter pitch.
3 games that are going to be released in 2021 after this episode that are not cheap platinums.
Yes, it has to be like games that we started after, so you can't do Disco Elysium. Also, that one came out already. It was like a rebut. I mean, they had the VO and stuff, but yeah, it's a re-release basically. But yes.
Okay. Where do you stand?
What are you thinking? What's going on in your behind the scenes? I see the gears turning.
Yeah, I think this is fair because I was going to use this as an excuse to get the plat in Ghost of Tsushima and Miles and shit.
No. You gotta do that shit on your own time. Don't bring that here. Because I also think my thinking too, like when I like kind of was.
Wait, where do you stand on Neo Replicant?
I think that's like a re-release situation, like a rebundle, because it's not remastered, all right? It's like remake-ish. I guess I'm light okay with it because I think to me the idea of it being 2020 is that like I think from it, and I don't know what you envision for this, if we're coming back to make content on it, but I feel like from an audience perspective, it's more interesting to be like talking about games that are like out now than it is to be like, oh, remember Miles? Like, yeah, I finished it. It's like great. Okay. I think it's a little more exciting to get stuff that like I can go in and get the Astrobot rescue mission, the Astro Playroom Platinum this afternoon. But I feel like that's not interesting. That's not fresh.
Okay. I'm here for it. I think this is a deal.
Even though that breaks my heart because I'm working hard on the Overcooked Platinum.
Yeah, I would have let you count that as one, but I guess this makes things more even in terms of it being fair.
You know what? Janet's in for it because of the content and the quality of the content, and I fucking respect it.
I was in for it just so I can get some platinums. Barrett, do you want in on this? Because you're also similarly not a platinum person.
Fuck no.
No?
What?
Hold on. Let me go to my
3 new games that are going to come out this year.
Nah.
Barrett, I think you got it in.
What's going to be interesting too, what I'm excited about with this is we'll have to decide which games are we picking? Are we going to wait for our favorite game to like appear? Are we going to just pick
like our most anticipated game?
One? Yes, exactly.
I mean, I got 12. I've got 12 platinums, a total of 12 platinums. I'm feeling.
Now, do we want to do it? Because with the way we're doing it now, right? Do we want it to be first to 3, or do we want it to be who can get more platinums by the end of the year?
Ooh,
because that might actually make more sense for the way we're doing it now.
I don't know. I think. Oh man, more by the end of the year is a lot more work, but it's probably more interesting.
I'll tell you right now, I am not exceeding 4 platinums this year.
Well, then maybe it should just be speed then. Maybe it should just be first to 3. We can always reevaluate too, because let's say like for some reason, I don't know, we both take a vacation and just do this challenge. We finish it like in 1 or 2 months. We can always decide to like do a new challenge or like do something else. Like we could always like add to it later. But yeah, I think starting out first to 3. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have any idea what your 3 are going to be? I don't know. I'm looking at the calendar now.
I have
now
no
I need
idea.
to buy some game
because in my mind it would be Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart would be one of them, but
that's a good one.
I don't know what that trophy list is going to look like, and so I guess we'll have to wait and see.
2016 wasn't a terrible trophy list. Like you had to put some work into it, but it was like I think it was like on the Greg Miller scale. I think it was still like a fair trophy list. So you have to imagine this new one isn't going to be
On a range from Mayo to Greg, where does this land? RE8's coming out. That could be a good one.
No,
I don't know what
I'm
that trophy list is going to look like. No? Okay.
Ain't nobody got time. Oh, I mean, you can do it. You can do it. I ain't doing that. All right.
But yeah.
Challenge issued is a deal. First to 3 platinums gets the victory. I don't know what the prize is.
We gotta buy it. Okay, we gotta buy like something that we can like that can be like a trophy of some sort. Even if it's just like they sell those little like in my house we have one of those like I should have drank out of it now actually. The trophy looking mug or something like that. Like it doesn't have to be
a chalice.
Anything expensive or like something that we can like. What we could do too is we could get like something, or maybe someone in the community could make a trophy or something, and then we could like mail it based on whoever has it, kind of like the Stanley Cup, but of a platinum version of the Stanley Cup is what I would want. Not as large because spacing, but yeah.
All right, we'll figure this out. We have a whole year to do this, and so we'll figure it out. But a challenge has been issued. Shaking on it. Hell yeah!
Is it for facing for like the like?
Wait,
which way are we? Are we this way?
Yeah. Do you see the monitor? No, turn the other way.
When you shake
this way.
When you shake hands, both of you use your right hand. Holy fuck!
Wait, do you not use your right hand?
Yeah. Wait, what?
Both when you shake hands.
Are we facing the right way now?
Oh my god!
Are we facing the right way? You're not answering the question.
Audio listeners are like, what the fuck is happening over there? Hold on.
Is this the right way?
This is the right way. Yeah.
All right.
It's because we're flipped, I think.
Yes. Yeah. Well. When I'm looking at Discord, like you're above me, which I know is not how it's laid out, you know? Yeah. So it's like, there's a lot going on, all right?
I mean, the chat doesn't get your confusion because they see you in a very normal situation right next to each other.
Yes.
So,
okay. That makes sense. Janet.
We're off to a good start.
Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of PS I Love You XOXO. Before we wrap up, where can people find your work?
You can find my work on patreon.com/GameOnasis. If you are listening to the show, you already know what Patreon is, so I don't really have to explain it. I got a bunch of different tiers. I post all my stuff on there. But also you can find my work most notably, I'd say on twitch.tv/GameOnasis, where I'm streaming a whole bunch. I also have like a YouTube channel and a bunch of other stuff, but you can kind of find all that via my Twitter, which is also GameOnasis. Everything is GameOnasis except for my PSN profile.
Yeah, which confused me for the longest time because I kept typing it in and I was like, where is it?
Oh, but you know what's funny though? I actually did claim that name though, just so that I have it. So I have a login for GameOnasis, like a
Why didn't you just change your PSN name to GameOnasis?
I didn't want to do the work. And I also feel like part of PlayStation culture is having a shitty username. I didn't want to let that go, so. But I didn't want someone else to be GameOnasis and pretend to be me, so I just have that ready to go.
That's awesome. Of course, this has been PS I Love You XOXO, your PlayStation podcast. Each and every week, we get together to talk about the hottest topics in PlayStation. We've got a Patreon post show for those that are subbed at the silver level of patreon.com/kindoffunnygames. So stick around for that. Otherwise, until next time, deuces.